3 minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
To infinity and beyond.
He's live. He's nationwide. This is the Zach Gelb Show. Here's your host, Zach Gelb.
Live from the palatial yet not overly ostentatious studios of the Infinity Sports Network here in beautiful New York City, sitting on top of the 10th floor of 345 Hudson Street. Welcome on in to what is a Wednesday edition of the Zach Gelb Show across all of our great local Infinity Sports Network affiliates, Sirius XM, Channel 158, the free Odyssey app, and, of course, streaming live on YouTube. 855-212-4227 is the number to jump on in. That's 855-212-4227. You could always get at me on Instagram, where I'm straight flexing, or via the good old cesspool of Twitter, X, at Zach Gelb. That is ZACHGELB. We got a whole lot to do today. Joining us in studio, we will get a Colts fan reaction. What is going on with the Indianapolis Colts when they bench Anthony Richardson, and now they're going back to Joe Flacco? So we will talk to no other than Ryan Hot Take Hickey in his weekly spot in studio at 4 p.m. Eastern Time. Mike Mayock, the former NFL general manager, longtime NFL analyst. He's doing the game tomorrow night in the swamps of Jersey, along with Iron Eagle on Westwood 1. So you could listen to that. He's going to stop by. We'll talk some football with him at 5 p.m. Eastern Time, 2 p.m. Pacific. But the biggest story from last night, the New York Yankees are staying alive, as it's now 3-1 in the World Series. So I'll give you the serious sports talk radio take first, and then I will have fun in the way that I think people in society should have fun. But for some reason, I think we have lost our sense of humor in a lot of aspects of life. But let me give you the serious, super duper sports take. The Yankees won a game last night. You know what? Let me give you a nice little golf clap. All right, good job. Anthony Volpe showed up. He hit the grand salami. Cool moment, right? Grew up as a Yankee fan. You know, Derek Jeter is his idol. Afterwards, you got him on set with Jeter. You know, he didn't really even give a rat's ass about A-Rod or Big Papi or Kevin Burkhardt. It was all, I'm sitting next to Derek Jeter, and he got a photo with Derek Jeter. It was very cool. But the Yankees, they got on the board. The Yankees are still down 3-1 in this series. And my expectation before the series started was Dodgers in 6. I think the Dodgers are in a different league right now than the New York Yankees. And through the first 3 games, the Dodgers displayed that. In the top half of the first inning of last night, it looked like that the Dodgers were going to run the Yankees out of the building when Freddie Freeman hit another home run in the World Series. So you take the 4 games this year where he's hit a home run in the World Series and the 2 the last time he was in the World Series, that's 6 straight games with him going deep in the Fall Classic. It's sensational. But the Yankees got off the mat last night. They threw some punches. The bell just went off. And now both fighters are going back to their respective corners. And the Yankees are still black and blue under the eye. They're still looking like they're about to get knocked out. But at least they got a few jabs in. Now, before the series started, I thought the Dodgers, like I said, were going to win in 6. I also said, after this went up 2-0 and the series was shifting back to New York, that I anticipated that the Yankees would take 2 games from the Dodgers and the Dodgers would close it out in 6. I believe that's still going to go that way. And I understand whenever you get a jab in at the Dodgers, they come back and they come back swinging, because even if you get a few of their big hitters out in their lineup, they have the most deep lineup, 1 through 9 in baseball, and it's not even close. So I'm not expecting, like with 100% confidence, that the Yankees win the game tonight. And maybe Garrett Cole, who is their ace, pitched as well as he could in game 1, and that was his good performance in this series, and the Yankees didn't pounce on it. The Yankees didn't capitalize. All those things are on the table. But tonight, how great Flaherty was in game 1, how Cole, the manager, pulled him way too early on 88 pitches in game 1. I would anticipate, even though Cole has been a little up and down in New York, but I would anticipate that Garrett Cole's going to get the job done tonight for the New York Yankees. And let me be clear. If it gets to 3-2, I've already seen Mike Francesa say it. I've already seen Alex Rodriguez say it. Like, you can't let them win this game tonight. Why? The pressure is not on the Dodgers. People don't turn the narrative around on the Dodgers until there's a game 7. That's the way that I look at it. So even though if the Yankees win tonight, right, it sucks you back into the series. I think nationally people aren't sucked back into this series because the Yankees finally got on the board and it's 3-1. But if the Yankees win tonight, the Dodgers can still win this series. But I won't believe the Dodgers are going to lose this series until there's a game 7. Because you're telling me if the Dodgers go home for game 6, that atmosphere isn't going to be rocking, and with the Dodgers bats, they can't pounce and put the Yankees in the grave? Like, come on. It would be great. It would be fun. It would be awesome if we get a game 6. But I still don't believe that this series is going to go past game 6. And if it does go past game 6, I will then shift my narrative, and I will say, Stuart Kovacs, get ready. We're going to have you drunk as a skunk down in a financial district at the Canyon of Heroes getting ready for a Yankee parade. But I will not even entertain that thought of seeing Stu not be sober, which you may say, tell me another day that it doesn't end in Y. But I will not think that Stu is seeing his team win it all until there is a Game 7. And just because there's a Game 7, it doesn't mean the Dodgers still can't win it. Because you look at the Stanley Cup final this past year, the Panthers are up 3-0. They're up 3-0. And then the Oilers came storming back. They forced a Game 7, and the Oilers lost Game 7 to the Florida Panthers. Okay. That is the serious, super-duper sports talk when it comes to the World Series for today. Now let's get to the biggest story, period, in the World Series. Like, this is Yankees-Dodgers, right? This is Ohtani against Judge. This is Juan Soto against Mookie Betts. This is Giancarlo. No si puesto parlo. Giancarlo Stanton up against Freddie Freeman. And this World Series, if we're being honest, has been boring. It's been a snooze fest. As someone that's not a Dodgers fan, as someone that's not a Yankees fan, I've watched all the games. I went to Game 3. You know, I know you had some entertaining games, but the series as a whole has been disappointing. It has not been what it's been advertised so far through 4 games. But there's a certain little thing that can happen in a series that makes it entertaining and gives everyone something to comment on. And it's the two Stu-Nods that were at the game last night. The Yankee fans in the first inning, when Mookie Betts is going to try to catch a ball, and they go try to play defense because they're on, Mookie's on their turf in the foul territory for their season tickets. And that's what did transpire last night. Now, before I get all the sensitive Sallys in the world on social media that are going to come from, my name, and they're going to just say, you're a disgraceful human being, you're a terrible talk show host. I am not saying what those fans did was right. Obviously, anyone with a brain acknowledges that what those two fans did was stupid. But you look at the context of what happened. If Mookie Betts got hurt last night, yes, it's a different tune today. We are all eviscerating those fans, and the behavior is deplorable. But since no one got hurt, since Mookie Betts didn't seem to give a you-know-what about it after the game, can we just acknowledge, even when something serious happens, even when something wrong happens, but nothing really came out of it, like the fans got escorted out, they're not going to be allowed back into the building tonight. It's a funny situation, okay? It's almost like when Saturday Night Live was actually good, because it's not good anymore. I can't even remember the last time I tuned into Saturday Night Live. But that would be a Saturday Night Live skit. That's what it was. Like, you had two stereotypical Yankee fans out in right field, down the first base line. Mookie Betts, the former Red Sox, now the Dodger, going to try to catch the ball. And the moment he catches the ball, those two guys think they're like Lawrence Taylor and Harry Carson, and they're trying to strip the ball or rip off the glove of Mookie Betts. It's a Saturday Night Live skit. No one got hurt. No one's saying the behavior is right, but it's hilarious. It's absolutely hilarious. And you have everyone on social media, or a miserable part of our society on social media, how dare you glorify these two Stu-Nods? You're a terrible person if you do so. Oh, blah, blah, blah. Like, come on. No one got hurt. It wasn't right to do. It happened. Everyone survives. And guess what? We could laugh at it. We could laugh at it. And we forgot how to laugh at this society. It's either you need to 100% be behind someone, or you need to rip everyone down and tear everyone down and cancel them. Austin Capobianco. he wasn't in the right. But this dude actually thinking that he can make an impact on the game and he could go rip the ball out of a player's glove is actually hilarious. And you know what? As someone that has found this World Series to be rather boring, rather underwhelming, considering what the hype was, that was the most enjoyable part of the World Series. It was the biggest moment of the World Series where I laughed and actually was entertained. And I was on the edge of my seat and I was like, I can't believe that this is happening. So, Stu, I got a lot of texts when this was happening. People saw, a pasty white guy, and they were like, was it Stuart Kovacs? Was it Sean Marash? Was it our former co-worker, Chris Carlin? And I said, hey, Stu is not as big. Stu's not a big guy. Slim Stu is not the size of that guy that we later found out, Austin Capobianco. Maybe Marash or Chris Carlin, they paid off Austin Capobianco, and it wasn't actually Austin Capobianco. That could be a possibility. But let me ask you, Stu, and I know you're a Yankee fan, so if you defend it, you're trash, you're terrible, you should be canceled, and we should tar and feather you, and we should make fun of you. But how did you react to that moment last night during the game when you were watching it?
Well, my first reaction was laughing because I just couldn't believe what was happening and believe that it was real. Like, I just could not believe that. Not that only that they interfered with them, the fact of how they did it was just insane. And again, I don't condone it, but at the same time, I laugh at it.
It's like when you're at a beach and you're playing flag football with your buddies and the ball gets thrown to someone. It's like, kill the guy with the ball, rip the ball out from your friend when you're playing at the beach when you're 9 or 10 years old. And that guy, I read that he was 38. I can tell you this. And maybe it's because of the position I'm in. And I'm still a fan, don't get me wrong. I'm a fan with the platform. But you get to know players, you get to know coaches. And I go to a Met playoff game, I'm still a sick fan. I go to a Patriot game, I'm still a sick fan. I go to a college football game, I'm still a sick fan. But you're not as emotional as I was when I was 11 or 12. I care. I want my teams to win. The euphoria is awesome when they win. You're miserable when they lose. But when you know some people that could be on both sides, sometimes it softens the blow a little bit. But that guy last night, he thought about this for years. And he finally was able to execute it. And don't get me wrong, because I know there's going to be a lot of sensitive people listening, and there's going to be a lot of people that are like, oh, I will never listen to Zach again. He's defending these two wild animals that were at the Yankee game last night. What happened afterwards means everything. And I know someone's going to call me up at 855-212-4227, and they're going to say, but Zach, what if Mookie Betts got hurt? Obviously, no bleep, Sherlock. If he got hurt, no one's having fun with this today. But the fans got escorted out. Mookie Betts had no problem after the game. He said, keep it moving, so we move on to Game 5. I'm actually, though, disappointed. Now, it's deserved. But I'm disappointed that they have banned those two fans from coming back to the game tonight. And I did see that Barstool Sports, they do their live streams during the games. They have Mike Francesa on the live stream tonight. Because Mike Francesa's son, I guess, interned for Barstool Sports. If you're Barstool, you got the sports pope in the building, you got to get these two guys, Austin, whoever the other guy was, to the Barstool stream tonight. And I got to, honestly, I think I would watch the Barstool stream with those two guys in Francesa and their reaction to the game rather than watching the Fox feed during the game. And by the way, can John Smoltz, someone get that guy a cup of coffee? How boring is John Smoltz in this World Series? He seems like he would rather be anywhere but the World Series. Oh, he has no energy. No energy whatsoever. And Fox, can we use our brains a little bit? I know you're a big national brand, so you don't want to associate yourself with those two fans. How did you not have Big Poppy running down there with the microphone, in the seats before those guys got escorted out of the building and interview them? It would have been unbelievable. But man, Smoltz terrible. I don't know about you, Stu. Joe Davis, good. Like, I like Joe Davis. I think Joe Davis is really good. I don't think he's like the greatest broadcaster that I've ever heard. But Joe Davis is a shining star compared to John Smoltz, who, like, sometimes I bet you Joe Davis, like, pats him on the shoulder and he's like, hey, you up, big fella? You up, John Smoltz? Because Smoltzy. And I usually like Smoltz, but he has been dead, absolutely dead in this series.
Yeah, I was just going to say that. I'm typically a fan of Smoltz, but this has not been a good series for him. I'm with you.
Do you like the post-game show, the pre- and post show?
I do.
I think it's good. Fun and conversational.
Yeah, I think it's good.
Mm-hmm. With A-Rod and Big Papi and Derek Jeter. Even Derek Jeter starting to develop a little bit of a personality. And obviously you got the great Kevin Burkhardt as well.
I think A-Rod's way better in that set than he is, like, you know, calling a game like he used to do for Sunday Night Baseball.
Yeah, well, because A-Rod's a reality TV guy. And you'd rather be a reality TV guy. Like, that's the way that I look at A-Rod. He's like a reality show. That's what I want out of the studio guys. Like a Shaq or a Charles Barkley, like Terry Bradshaw. The good studio guys are personalities. They're characters. So those are my thoughts last night on the deplorable. See, you at least got it at me. The deplorable situation at Yankee Stadium. Can you imagine if the Yankees, I don't think they're coming on back. Let me be clear. Can you imagine if the Yankees come on back, though? These two dopes, they're going to be heroes. They're going to be legends. They're going to have a plaque in Monument Park, and they're going to be at the parade, Stu. They're going to have a float at the parade. Because Major League Baseball had to tell the Yankees, hey, ban them tonight. The Yankees weren't going to ban them. But then Major League Baseball was like, hey, we shouldn't let these guys in the building tonight. So where are you at, Stu? On the confidence scale, I think yesterday you were at, what, 12%, I think? You said something like that they were going to come on back?
It was very low, yes.
So where are you at now? 3-1, you got a little life. Is Stu starting to believe that what happened 20 years ago to the Yankees in the ALCS when they were up 3-0 to the Boston Red Sox, and then the Red Sox won Game 4, they won Game 5, they won Game 6, they won Game 7. Is this now happening in a reverse way in the World Series for the New York Yankees? What's the confidence of Stuart Kovacs that the Yankees win tonight, number one, and then number two, that they come on back and win the series?
I think they win tonight. I feel good with Cole on the mound. I don't think they win Game 6. Okay. I don't think Rodon... I just don't have much faith in Rodon, especially against Yamamoto at Dodger Stadium. A lot of pressure is going to be on them at that point. I don't think the Dodgers lose Game 6.
If they do win Game 6,
yeah, I feel pretty good. It's not a lock, but I feel pretty good.
90%?
I'd say like 85%, 80, 85.
Okay.
It's pretty good. I'd feel really good if they won Game 6. I think that's the one they lose.
What do you think of the fan behavior? 855-212-4227. 855-212-4227. If you can't laugh at that last night, then maybe you're just like Greg Dayton in the YouTube chat and you're just always miserable. We'll take a timeout. Coming on back. It is the Zach Gelb Show.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 3 minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
This is the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network.
You know what's crazy? So we're talking about the two Yankee fans at the game last night that interfered with Mookie Betts. You look back at fan interference. What are the two things that come to mind? One is obviously a baseball story that no one will ever forget, and it's Steve Bartman. Like, think about that. Bartman, unintentional, interfered and ended up being like the most hated person in Chicago, right? Think about that. With the headphones on, people were throwing things at him. The dude had to go into hiding up until the Cubs won the World Series, and the Cubs reach out like, hey, we want to give you a ring. We want to acknowledge you. We want to welcome you back, blah, blah, blah. And like Steve Bartman's like, no, I'm so traumatized from what happened. I want no part of this. I just want to live my life and just try to be a regular dude when now everyone knows me for this one incident when Steve Bartman really had zero intention of becoming a story. But because the Yankees benefited from this, and you have two Yankees fans trying to rip a ball out as if they're playing a practical joke on someone, on Mookie Betts, and they look like a bunch of 13-year-olds, even though they're like 38 years old, right? And those guys have like actual, real, somewhat adult lives, I would assume. those guys get celebrated. Like, Stu, I don't know about you. I'm sure Steve Bartman, he's like hiding still. It kind of, in Bench Warmers, where the kid that gets bullied and he like locks himself in his parents' basement or his mom's basement, and he's like with the whole like Dungeons and Dragon kind of set kind of guy. Like, that's how I envision how Steve Bartman still lives. He's like living a life, but he's living a life in a basement. So when he turns on the TV last night and he's watching the World Series and he sees these two guys getting lauded and celebrated by Yankee faithful, Steve Bartman's probably just looking there saying, what the heck did I do wrong? So I did think of Steve Bartman last night, Stu, how he kind of got just screwed over in this whole situation.
He was definitely, like you said, there are two famous ones, and I think we both have the same two, and Bartman was definitely the first one that came to mind for me, too.
Okay, I would assume that we had the same second one, but what is it?
Jeffrey Mayer, Yankees-Orioles, 96.
Oh, okay. Fine. Now, that was an actual kid, so it's like you can't really hold it against a kid. I was not even thinking that one.
Interesting.
It's not even a baseball moment. I'm talking about fan interaction.
Not baseball.
Yeah. Malice at the Palace. Right?
Yeah.
Like, that was actually ugly, nasty, terrible fan behavior. And you had the players running into the stands as well, which just totally made the situation escalate even further. Like, that was such a black eye for the NBA and a dark day for the NBA. But when I think of fan interaction and like negative fan interaction moments, it's Steve Bartman, and then this is in a different stratosphere, the mayhem, with Malice at the Palace. But those are the two things that I did think of. All right, a few funny things to come out of this. Let me get to Rob Gronkowski. So earlier this morning, I see this tweet talking about this guy, Austin, Capobianco, whatever his name is, which is... It just fits into the stereotype of what the stereotypical Yankee fan is. Big, Italian guy, looks like he eats like 7, 8 meatball parm heroes before entering the game, drunk as a skunk, very emotional, willing to fight the opposing team's players for the good of the Bronx Bombers, right? So I'm reading this story, and it's highlighting on ESPN who this guy is. And of course, you got all these people that are on their high horse. Why are you finding a way to make a positive spin? And why are you glorifying this guy? Like a bunch of losers on social media that just can't laugh anymore. And I see this guy's Twitter is somewhere in the article, like hyperlink, you could click on it. And he had like 150 something followers. And I see that Big Cat is following him, Barstool's following him, so it makes sense. And then I see Rob Gronkowski, of all people, the Gronker, is following this Austin Capobianco. So I saw it, and I'm like, you know what? I got to get to the gym. Then I have a chiropractor appointment after the gym. Like, I'm not really going to research why Rob Gronkowski is following this guy. Maybe Gronk was Twitter savvy. Some people, they try to say that Gronk is just one dumb, big jock, but maybe he was a little Twitter savvy and he quickly found this guy and he just followed him for the sake of following it once the cat was out of the bag. But this is Gronk on Up and Adams with Kay Adams. He has a relationship with Austin Capobianco.
That guy right there grabbing Mookie Betts' glove.
Don't tell me you know
was
him.
my friend in college.
Gronk, stop it right now.
He was on the ice hockey team, the club Arizona Wildcats team, ice hockey team. And let me tell you, the whole hockey team, they were absolute maniacs. They were undescribable just how wild
Animals?
these guys, animals, yes, how wild these guys were. Him doing that represents him very well. I mean, he is all in for his teams. He is all in for the Yankees. I remember him talking about the Yankees all the time, how he loves them so much. And that describes him perfectly, just doing whatever it takes to help his team out. But he's a beauty.
Okay,
he is a beauty.
Okay,
and I just want to say congratulations.
Congratulations!
For shining when your moment came.
So I was in a frat in college. And when you're in like a fraternity, then you know of like other fraternities as well. And they're like, being on a sports team is basically like being on a fraternity. Whenever like the ice hockey fraternity or, the ice hockey team would throw a party, it was always the most reckless parties. So if Gronk was impressed by the way that this guy conducted himself and how he partied, this guy had to be like just slugging probably like 20 natties down, then ripping like 8 fireball shots, doing 4 bong hits, and then getting ready to go out for the night. Slapping a little wine bag as well. I'm sure this guy was like a tough hockey guy that would just get absolutely obliterated in college. And Gronk is the definition of what it is to party. So him and Gronk probably had a lot of blacked out nights back in the day at Arizona. But just, of course, that's so Gronk. The random Stunad at the Yankee game that is making a jackass out of himself, even though personally I found it funny. The next thing, Gronk's like, wait a second, I know that guy. That's Big Austin Capo Bianco. Back in the day, we used to drink beers together at Arizona. Just unbelievable. 855-212-4227, 855-212-4227. Let's go to Adrian in Maryland, wants to chime in on this fan interference at the Yankee game last night at the World Series up against the Dodgers. Yo, Adrian, what's shaking?
Hey, Zach, what's up going on, buddy? Hey, this is my thing. I thought it was just like, a fan trying to get a ball from Mookie. But then when they zoom in and you see him trying to pry his glove open like it's a clam or something, that was the funny part. I mean, I don't condone it because Mookie could have got hurt. I understand that. Mm-hmm. But when they zoomed in, you couldn't but laugh at it because it was just hilarious. And these 2 fat dudes trying to pry his glove open.
It was only one fat dude. The other guy was skinny. The other guy, you remember Tommy DeVito's agent? That guy, Sean Stilettos, whatever his name is. He looked like Tommy DeVito's agent, that other guy.
One question I did have is, how did they not get first dibs at the ball? Mookie's got to reach up to get the ball. They're higher than him, and they still don't get it. And they got a glove on like they're a 9 or 10-year-old at the game.
It's a great point. I think that's why Mookie Betts is the professional athlete, and that guy's paying to watch Mookie Betts play baseball. Probably why. But great phone call, Adrian. And here's the other part of this, to go deep into the weeds on this. This is why I love this topic, because you can have fun. And if you can't acknowledge that we're having fun with this, then you know what? Time to change the dial for today, okay? But it's very simply this. What is fair here, Stu? Mookie Betts is going into their territory. So can you play a little defense? Where I thought they took it too far, Stu, is when they were trying to rip the glove off. Like, you lost at first, but I think you could make a little effort where you could take a swipe at the glove. But once you're like holding on to the glove as if it's like some sacred item and you're trying to rip off the arm of Mookie Betts, even I will say, and I am, Mr. Fun, even I will say, I thought that was when it was taken a little bit too far.
Yeah, if it was just the first part, we wouldn't probably be talking about it today. But the fact that it was just so ridiculous with the trying to rip it out and open the glove and all that, that's what makes it ridiculous.
You know what I want to do? I want to go back into the sales office right now. And our ticket guy for the Yankees, Mark Zuckerman, is a great guy, Zuck. I want to say, hey, I'm interested in going to the Yankee game tonight. World Series, I want to go. But I'm only interested if you can get me a seat in foul territory down the line. So just in case, if either a Yankee or a Dodger's there, I could try to channel my inner Austin Capo Bianco from last night. I think that would be fun. So maybe we'll get some Yankee tickets.
There's 2 open seats.
Yeah. And those guys got refunded, and I wonder then who gets their tickets. Now, when you're banned from a stadium, now those guys, they've become so big now that people know who they are, right? Like they're the talk of the World Series so far. Like in a week from now, unless the Yankees come on back, it'll be a blip. People will forget about it. But they're just banned for tonight. Like, don't you put on a disguise?
Yeah, pull a Bobby Valentine.
Tickets.
Yeah, put on a little mustache and some glasses.
And I'm not saying you sit in those seats.
No.
You could go get like upper deck seats, and you could get into the stadium. Like I know sometimes they have that facial recognition and all that stuff. But if they really wanted to go to the game, you put on a little disguise, a little mustache. You think they're really going to get booted? No. But this is a money opportunity for those guys. Like, hey, Barstool, you want me at your stream tonight? Start giving me a paycheck. They could get a lot of money out of this stuff. All right, it is Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network. It is Take 5 Wednesday. I will give you my top 5 teams in college football and the NFL when we come on back. And there is one team that I think people will be stunned about in college football. That is not, let me repeat that, is not in my top 5. We get to that when we come on back. Update time. Here he is, the Act Man, Rich Ackerman.
Infinity Sports Network Sports Flash.
And it's brought to you by Progressive, who's proud to support veterans and small businesses with their annual Keys to Progress vehicle giveaway program, helping our heroes drive their lives forward. Learn more at keystoprogress.com. The World Series continues tonight in New York, with the Yankees hoping to send it back out west for Games 6 and 7. They're still alive after a Game 4 victory that cut the Dodgers' lead to 3-1. Manager Aaron Boone said it may sound cliche, but the reality is one game at a time.
We just showed up today ready to play, and we're trying to get one, and trying to get the game, trying to get it to tomorrow. You don't even get ahead of yourself and start thinking about the series.
Boone comes back with his best pitcher tonight. Ace Garrett Cole starts after a strong performance in Game 1. Jack Flaherty, also sharp Friday, gets the call, trying to end the series for L.A. Joe Flacco is not a one-week wonder. Colts head coach Shane Steichen said he's the starter going forward, and he gives the team its best chance to win. Lions quarterback Jared Goff did not practice today after rolling an ankle last week. He said he is fine and will be back tomorrow. Edmonton Oilers star Connor McDavid will miss 2 to 3 weeks due to an ankle injury. I'm Rich Ackerman.
This is the Infinity Sports Network. Follow us on Instagram. Our handle is Infinity Sports Network. That's Infinity Sports Network to follow us on Instagram.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining.
1 minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
As the dust settles from last week's games, it's time to look at which teams are rising and which are falling.
And there's an interception.
Zach ranks his top 5 NFL and college football teams on this week's edition of Take 5, only on the Zach Gelb Show.
That's what I'm talking about, Zach Gelb Show, and it's time to ask the pros where you, yes, you, the listener, gets to ask us a question. It's brought to you by O'Reilly Auto Parts. Simply tweet your question at INF Sportsnet or at Zach Gelb using the hashtag AskThePros. Be listening later in the extravaganza when we might answer your question. Think O'Reilly Auto Parts or your car care needs to guarantee low prices and excellent, and I mean excellent, customer service from the professional parts people at O'Reilly Auto Parts. O'Reilly Auto Parts. All righty, let's start with college. And I'm making an executive decision this week. Sorry, Stu, I'm not asking. I'm going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Not 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Stu gave me a thumbs up, so that's his way of saying, yeah, I agree with you, or I'm just going to pretend to agree with you. In at number 1, they just beat the snot out of a top 25 Illinois team. We know a few weeks prior to that, they found a way to defeat Ohio State. They also have a win up against Boise State. The Ducks got off to a little bit of a slow start where it didn't look clean their first 2 games of the season. But now Dylan Gabriel, Dan Lanning and company are rolling Oregon in at number 1. We get to number 2. Did not play this past week, coming off a win that got them back in our good graces. And that, of course, are the Georgia Bulldogs after they beat Texas 2 weeks ago. And they had 1 loss on the season. It was to Alabama. Terrible first half. Then they played well in the second half. In at number 3. A little bit of a slow start, but they pulled away. You know, it's crazy that this is the 3rd best team in the country in my estimation, and they have a big one this week up against the Ohio State, noon Eastern, at Happy Valley, but I'm going with the Penn State Nittany Lions. In at number 4, this team keeps on winning. I think the game this weekend could be a little bit trickier than what people expect because there's going to be motivation for Manny Diaz. I still think Miami will win, but it will be tighter than what people think. But with Duke, Georgia Tech, Wake Forest, and Syracuse on the schedule, yeah, the Hurricanes, led by Cam Ward, they should be undefeated at the end of the regular season. So the Hurricanes are in at number 4. And then in at number 5, yes, they lost to Notre Dame to start off the season. But since then, regardless of what quarterback they play, they've been unbelievable. And they've been a lot of fun to watch. And we saw them just take it to Missouri, but then down, 17-7 to LSU. They put Marcel Reed in, and boom, they ended up protecting their home turf. That's the A&M Aggies, the Aggies of A&M, Texas A&M, as they took care of LSU 38-23. So I think people are going to be listening and saying, hey, Zach forgot someone. You got Oregon 1, Georgia 2, Penn State 3, Miami 4, A&M 5. No, I know what I'm doing. I didn't forget someone, but Stu, if you want to do a little checks and balances, you could speak now or forever hold your peace.
Yeah, what about the team that's ranked 4th in the AP Top 25 and only has one loss to number 1 Oregon, and that is Ohio State?
So last year, and this was the team that we were teasing, if you can't tell. But last year, I was early on the bandwagon that Ohio State's not as good as what you think they are. And when the committee on their first committee rankings put that at 1, I said I can name 5 or 6 teams better than Ohio State. This is not anti-Ohio State. This is not me saying Ohio State can't get back into the top 5. But they need to earn my respect back. And they have an opportunity to do that this weekend, going to Happy Valley and taking care of Penn State. A game where, quite frankly, I think it means more for Ohio State than it does Penn State. We'll explain more about that later on in the week. But after losing to Oregon and lacking awareness down the stretch of that game, and then barely, and I mean barely beating Nebraska, I need to see more from Ohio State for them to impress me to get into the top 5. Now, they go beat Penn State this weekend. They're right back in the top 5, and they're moving right up that list past some teams, but I got to see it. This is not what you have done in the past, previous years. This is what you have done in the year of 2024. So that's why Ohio State. Oh!
What about Texas? Why one loss Texas, that one loss to Georgia? What about them?
So the loss to Georgia is just one of those things where I'm like, how good are they actually? They didn't just lose to Georgia. They lost going away to Georgia and then followed it up with a very underwhelming performance up against Vanderbilt, where I would have liked to see them come out swinging a little bit harder, and they were off this past week. Or that Vanderbilt game was over the weekend. So it was that performance up against Vanderbilt where I was just like, yeah, they didn't really thoroughly impress me, and they left the door open for Vanderbilt, and Vanderbilt, not that they were ever going to complete the comeback, but they did come close. So that's why Texas is out.
What about Tennessee? They were off this week, but the week before that, they beat Alabama.
Great win up against Alabama. Saves their season, keeps them alive for the playoff mix. I just still, as a freshman, I don't trust Nico Iamaleava right now. Too much up and down for me. That's why they're out.
And last but not least, the undefeated Indiana Hoosiers.
Good win last week, especially without their quarterback. And Cignetti's a phenomenal coach. They still have a big boy opponent to play, and that's Ohio State. They got to go get a big boy victory because their best victory up until this point is up against Nebraska, who right now is in a top 25 team. So that's why, even though I think he's the coach of the year, they're on the outside looking in. All right, NFL, I'll go 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Commanders in at number 5. Who would have ever thought we would be saying that before the start of this season? And I know they pulled the rabbit out of the hat, but they did it. And that team has been really fun to watch this year. And they have a star at quarterback in Jaden Daniels. 4, it's the Buffalo Bills. I thought that game was going to be a grinded out type of game where Buffalo would win by 4 to 7 points. I laid the 3 with Buffalo. That game was over very early as the Bills walked into the 12th man country in Seattle and just stomped the Seattle Seahawks. In at number 3, go Pack go! They're on a 4-game win streak. Regardless if Love is healthy or not, they still find the ways to win games. And I get it wasn't pretty up against Jacksonville, but it's a win, and it's a big win. And then you get a huge game coming up on Sunday at 4:25 p.m. Eastern time up against the Lions. So I have the Packers 3, the Lions are then 2. Perfect segue. It's like I do this for a living. Look how I walked right into that one. And when I look at the Detroit Lions, I get it. They played Tennessee. Tennessee stinks. But it's how they just embarrassed. Absolutely embarrassed and just boat raced the Titans. And then at number 1, they keep on winning. It's not pretty. But when Mahomes hasn't even been Mahomes and Kelsey finally came alive on National Tight Ends Day, and you're sitting there 7 games into the season at 7-0, and your defense is better than your offense, yeah, that's why the Chiefs are 1. And until someone takes out the Chiefs, I'm not going to take them out of that number 1 spot, or I don't think I will. Stu, speak now or forever hold your peace.
All right, what about the Texans up to 6-2 after their win over the Colts?
That was the team that was right in the 5th spot, and then I took them out. And I took them out for one reason and one reason only. It's nothing that they did, but it's because Stephon Diggs got hurt. And you got Nico Collins still out. I think the record of 6-2, even though they continue to win a bunch of games, I think they're going to come back down to earth a little bit and they're going to struggle a little. just because of all the injuries that they suffered. Now, they're fortunate to be playing the Jets on Thursday, but I did see that the Jets are a slight favorite, a 1.5, 2-point favorite, which I don't understand that one. I think they're just trying to make me not bet the Texans because I was going to bet the Texans. I'm like, that line smells a little fishy. So it's the injuries with the Texans.
What about the Eagles' 3 straight wins after a shaky start?
Good performance. Phenomenal second half up against Cincinnati. That Devontae Smith may turn their season around. That catch, I got to see more up against better opponents with Philadelphia. You know, the Browns and the Giants doesn't make me jump up and down, and the Bengals are bad this year. It was impressive, but not worthy of being a top 5 team right now.
The Baltimore Ravens, they looked good, but then they lost to the Browns.
Well, that's what it is. That team, I think, is the 3rd best team in the AFC. You know, you could make a case maybe they're in front of Buffalo. You know, they did beat Buffalo. But when you lost that game to Cleveland and you also lost earlier in the year to the Raiders, that makes me reset a little bit, and I put you just outside of the top 5 for now.
All right, and last but not least, after going to Russell Wilson as their starting quarterback, 2 straight wins for the Steelers.
It's still a lack of trust in that offense. It's like you knew the Steelers were going to beat the Giants, but how they left the door open for the Giants and had to get bailed out once again by TJ Watt, who's the best defensive player in football. It's like one of those things where you're 6-2. It would appear you're a great team, but this is what the Steelers have been for a while, where they haven't won a playoff game since the 2016 season. And it's one of those things where it's just like, okay, whatever their record is, they're really not that good as what their record says they are. So the lack of consistency and trust on offense is why I have the Steelers on the outside looking in. So top 5 teams of the college football world: Oregon, Georgia, Penn State, Miami, A&M, Ohio State. Fans, before you want to, basically just absolutely like annihilate me, what I will say is this: you win this week, which right now on a Wednesday, I'm picking you to win. You go back in the top 5, but I need to see it from you guys this year because everyone says a great job. I haven't seen it yet. And then in the NFL, Chiefs 1, Lions 2, Packers 3, Bills 4, and the Commanders in at number 5. Talking about Penn State, talking about the Indianapolis Colts. We weren't talking about the Indianapolis Colts, but we will in 5 minutes. Hot Take Hickey joins us next for a state of the Nittany Lions and also those Indianapolis Colts.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. 2 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Infinity and beyond.
He's live. He's nationwide. This is the Zach Gelb Show.
Now, I don't want to accuse anybody of anything. Hickey got a haircut today, so he's got a fresh cut. So people were wondering in the YouTube chat, Hot Take Hickey, they take wagers now on how high your hair is going to be. So I think you're a little misleading today because you walked in here and in this studio, like just our New York City studio, the only shows that broadcast out of here are myself, Maggie and Perloff, and Amy Lawrence. You know, we have Jim Rome out on the West Coast, Bill Ryder out on the West Coast, JR is down in Georgia, and then we also have Bart Winkler out in Wisconsin, in Milwaukee.
That's right.
So Hickey walks in, and he goes, what the F is this on this chair? It was like glitter and a ton of hair. So, and it was long hair, right?
Yes.
So that was gross. So that takes Perloff out of the equation. And
Yes.
Perloff also sits here. And I think Amy sits here.
She does.
Where I sit. So Maggie Gray, who is our great coworker, who is wonderful. Like, what are we doing in this chair? Did they dress up for Halloween today? Because it looks like a Halloween costume, and the leftover of the Halloween costume was all over that chair. So Hickey is now sitting in a higher chair, so it makes your hair, which is always magnificent, look even higher today because you're up a few inches than like us, just lousy people that sit all the way down here.
I'm boosting,
Yeah,
as they would say in Seinfeld.
this is your performance enhancers. You know, Barry Bonds, would use a syringe. You just Jack up the chair a little.
That's it. Just get a chair that's a little higher. That's all. Nothing wrong with
So
that.
I'm very concerned about you in this segment today.
You're concerned.
Yeah.
Okay.
If I don't want you looking at Stu and tapping out like your quarterback, Anthony Richardson.
God.
So I did a little favor. I'm being kind. I got you a cup of water just in case if you're out of breath and you need a little sip of high quality H2O. I wanted to make sure that you have some water in there.
I'm going to keep this by you because of my flailing arms. I want to knock that over.
And we don't want you to knock over the water and then Chris Oliveira comes in there and fires us all.
I
don't
agree.
want that to happen.
I like my job.
But if you need some water, just give me the look. Hey, yo, Gelb, I'm getting out of breath. I need some water right here.
I never saw that. I hope to never see that again. You won't see that in radio. I can promise you that for at least the next 20 minutes.
Well, here's what I'm really just laughing about. You issue this statement of support basically of Anthony Richardson with the stupid stats, and this is why stats are for losers, comparing Josh Allen, his first 10 games against Anthony Richardson's first 10 games, 12 games, whatever it was. And you tweet out something that made it seem like you're in the pro Anthony Richardson camp, guys.
The eyeballs emoji, oh, look at this.
Hey, folks, I'm just saying, anyone doubted my guy Anthony Richardson, which was ironic because you trashed Josh Allen for a while, and now you're all in on Josh Allen. And then I kid you not, I wasn't counting or anything, but 13 minutes later, your quarterback gets benched. Now, last week, I asked you, on a scale of 1 to 10, where's your concern? You're like, I'm 100% confident in Anthony Richardson. He's the guy, but you put it at a 2. A very low confidence.
No, it was not. My thing is this. I don't know what we have. But I'm not panicking yet because I don't think we have a definitive answer one way or another. I'm not saying he's good. I can't sit here and say his career's over.
You said he was your franchise quarterback when they drafted him.
You have to find out. Well, I'm excited, and I thought he could fit right in with Shane Steichen. And I don't think at this point he's played 10 games. That to me is not enough time to decipher if he's the guy or not.
But we're men. Can we just have an honest conversation
we are
here
men.
for a second?
Let's be honest.
Craig Carden would say men don't lie to one another, right?
We're not lying here.
So in the radio terms, I know you very well. I used to work with you 5 days a week.
That's right.
And we talked an extensive amount of college football, and we have discussed a lot about prospects. I remember a day where Ryan Hickey was like, I don't want someone drafted Anthony Richardson early. But then we're at the draft. What was it? Kansas City?
Kansas City.
Chilly
Kansas City.
Let me tell you. Kansas City. I love Kansas City. I didn't love staying an extra day there when my flight got canceled and I missed game 6 of Rangers Devils and I had to sell my ticket and I didn't get back the full price that I paid for. But Jack Stack's incredible, by the way. I went there 2 times when I got stranded there and I had the mac and cheese in the airport with bacon, which was unbelievable too. But when we were in Kansas City, you, right after basically trashing Richardson, saying he's no good, you kind of came to acceptance that was going to be your pick. And then you started talking all positively about Anthony Richardson. You're allowed to be a fan. You're allowed to back your guy. I didn't love Drake May at first. I'll admit this. I wanted Jaden Daniels. I didn't think Drake May was going to be a bum, but I thought Jaden Daniels was the better quarterback. The Patriots draft Drake May. Okay, I could talk myself into it. You talked yourself into Anthony Richardson. It wasn't love at first sight.
No, it definitely was. I mean, I told you for a while I wanted Bryce Young really bad. And
jeez, you're 0 for 2.
That is not looking great right now. So,
and he called C.J. Stroud a bum, folks.
Not a bum, but I was not in on C.J. Stroud, I will say. So go figure, not great for the rep. But the thing with, I finally did come around to it because of this perspective here. And Josh Allen, I think, is a good comp. For a while, my only thought was, if you can't play in college, you can't play in the pros. Development's not happening.
Okay.
If you can't dominate, you're screwed. And I think Josh Allen is an example of, if you can have an up and down career, but you go to the right team with development, if you have it in there, they can get it out of you. And so I'm still slow on it, I will admit, but I'm trying to change my perspective on terms of watching college football and trying to translate how these guys will look in the NFL. And Richardson was a guy that it's tough on the transition because he does not look good at Florida. So it's if this guy can't look good at Florida, how is he supposed to look good in the pros?
And we said it, right? After that Utah game that they won.
Yes.
And I said it. I go, this is going to sound funky. This is loser behavior. But the worst thing for Billy Napier and Anthony Richardson in a game where both did well is that they actually won it, because then the expectations were going to go through the roof, and I didn't think they were ready to handle the expectations.
And I forgot who he had on. We had someone on right after that game, and they said he's going to be a top 10 pick. And I never forgot. I rolled my eyes and said there's no way, and he's going to stink the next week.
I think it was Chris Doring.
Okay. It may have been. I forget who it is, but they were like raving about him, and this is like the real deal. And they were like, "This can't be it. Like he's not like he's good, but he's not that consistent." And then next week against Kentucky, he stunk. So I'm like, this is it. But what I just eventually got to with Anthony Richardson is, okay, you know what? If you're going to take a swing at a quarterback in the top 5, don't go conservative. And if he has a talent where he puts it together, could be one of the best quarterbacks in the league, even if it's like a 10% chance, I think you take a swing.
Now,
and that's what I accepted.
Our most heated debate of all time. Do you recall what it was? I wasn't mad at you, but this was the most I have ever yelled at you.
It was Mac Jones, Trey Lance, Justin Fields for the 49ers at 3.
Who was Trevor Lawrence was number 1 pick?
Trevor Lawrence was number 2. Number 1, sorry, Zach Wilson.
Yeah. So Trevor Lawrence was deemed as the generational talent in that draft. And for 3 years, we were told Trevor Lawrence is going to be the greatest thing ever.
That's right.
And Hickey said the quarterback with the highest ceiling in this draft is Trey Lance.
That's right.
And I said, that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard because the ceiling is Trevor Lawrence. Like, he's the guy. Don't tell me if Trey Lance could do this and could do that and could do this and could do that when he never displayed that in college is going to have a higher ceiling. And that's the problem with the draft process. I'm not saying this is your fault, but you have Patrick Mahomes and people go, if this guy could be 50% of Patrick Mahomes, then we got to go draft him. Or, hey, if this guy, Josh Allen was inaccurate, but he put it together. So this guy's never showed us being accurate at all in college. But if he could put it together, we could have the next Josh Allen. Like, these teams have mentally bleeped themselves so much into thinking that they could draft somewhat of the next Mahomes or they could have a project like a Josh Allen. And you got to eventually put something on tape, enough tangible moments on tape that suggest that there's enough, you have enough bullets like kind of in the chamber where you could actually see with the right coaching that player progressing. I never saw that from Trey Lance. And Anthony Richardson, outside the Utah game, there was one of the game that season, I forget what it was, that he played well, but outside of that, he stunk.
But I mean, that's it right there. That's what you're saying. Shohei, he proved it to you in that game. It's a top 10 opponent coming into your building.
And the game, moments.
Everybody, were Josh Allen's 5 moments. Where Patrick Mahomes is, Patrick, let's not pretend here and say,
Mahomes
you're watching
stats,
Texas
though.
Tech and breaking, salivating at the mouth.
I wasn't watching Wyoming with Josh Allen,
So
I watched Anthony Richardson, and I never saw why people thought this guy was going to be some successful quarterback in the NFL.
I think it's very tough to get it right, and truly, I don't know. I don't know what translates. I know, C.J. Stroud, you look at him, Ohio State, he played his worst games against the best opponents with all this talent around him, and it's like, well, this guy's going to Houston. The talent's not very good. This guy shrinks in the biggest moments. How is he gonna live up to this? And he clearly was head and shoulders the best quarterback in that class and one of the best quarterbacks in the league already.
Yeah.
There's no answer. I think that's maybe part of it. There is no one answer to getting a quarterback right, and that's why it is a crapshoot.
Now, I don't want to get away from the lead here. We don't bury the lead on this show. You hate what the Colts are doing right now.
It's ridiculous. It is. You know what it is? It's Jets-like. It is very Jets-like. They drafted a quarterback that was a project that had very little experience. They understood that. They knew that. And they said, we're going to mold this gigantic mound of clay into the next great sculpture. It's going to take a lot of time, but we're going to do it. And 10 starts in, you're pulling the plug and saying, oh, sorry, we can't do it. That's ridiculous. He hasn't played. And sitting down, the only thing that I held out hope yesterday for, until I wanted to see them say today, that I could have maybe agreed with the decision was, we're benching him for this game against the Vikings to publicly embarrass him. To show him that what he did tapping out was not right.
Yeah, but you don't do that to a franchise quarterback.
To the locker room, to send a message to him to take this seriously. Because you know what, that move, you could argue that move right there showed he does not take what he's doing seriously. And if you want to send a message, the best way to do it is just publicly shame him.
Can I give you 3 options? Fine. And I forget what I said yesterday, but I'm going to change on this throughout the rest of the week. There's just certain topics where you think you have an answer for something. As the weeks go on, the days go on, it just change. So there's 3 options why they benched him. Number 1, it's because of the comment. He admitted that he tapped out of a game and he quit. All right? That's number 1. Number 2, they look at their next 4 games. They're 4-4. They could make the playoffs. It's not crazy to say. The AFC is not that
No,
loaded.
I'm rolling my eyes more just because, who cares at this point?
Okay, but I'm saying this could be a football thing. They play Minnesota, Buffalo, the Jets, and the Lions. They go 2-2, and Flacco's better right now than Richardson.
Yep.
Even if it doesn't work out for you long term, obviously you want to see what you have with Anthony Richardson. If they go 2-2 with Joe Flacco, which is possible. They can't do that with Anthony Richardson, in my opinion. They're sitting there at 6-6 when the schedule eases up. Or number 3, Shane Steichen has already given up on Anthony Richardson. And I know what you're going to say. Where's the sample size? They haven't had a big enough sample size. The guy's been hurt. He hasn't played enough. He hasn't started enough games. Well, Kyle Shanahan, who you love Kyle Shanahan. He quickly, like in a snap of a finger, and they moved mountains to go get Trey Lance. He quickly gave up on him, and even his dad's telling a story. I forget who he told it to a few weeks ago, where like before the start of the season that year, he's like, no, the guy you really got to look out for is that Brock Purdy. And everyone's like, don't you mean Trey Lance? That's the guy. No, Brock Purdy. And now I know they don't have a Brock Purdy on the roster who's young, but this is a spot where I think Shane Steichen's like, I know what good quarterback play is in this league, and I've already seen enough where this dude just don't got it.
His comments today, I think, suggest that's all it suggests. He's given up on him. He could say, "Oh, we still believe in him."
Are you out on Steichen now?
No. I think Shane Steichen's a very good coach.
Wait. But you think he's making the wrong decision?
I do.
And by the way, if you need that water, you look a little parched.
I am okay. Like if you're telling me right now to choose one going forward, Richardson or Steichen, I'm taking Steichen every time. Okay. No doubt about it. I think he's that good of a coach. But I think these comments about we're trying to win now, Joe's our quarterback for the rest of the season, essentially. It's his job to lose. They've given up on him.
Now, can we have one more honest conversation about the Colts?
Sure.
And for some reason, like every other team in the league or sports, the results be this underwhelming. Hickey's like, fire the guy, fire the coach, fire the GM. When do we start having a conversation about Chris Ballard?
Soon. So
he's on the hot seat for you.
He's been on the hot seat for a while in general.
I feel like he never, though, is the person that gets the blame for a lot of the mess that has happened.
Well, part of it is Jim Irsay has come in, not this year, but in previous years, and has made things a lot worse than they should have been, a la Jeff Saturday being the head coach.
Hey, they won a game. It's more than the Jets have been able to win.
That's true. You're right about that. He did get one. Oh, my. I think it was against the Raiders, too, ironically enough.
It was. Sorry, Steve.
Other than, but he's very inactive in free agency. He does not make aggressive moves when it comes to upgrading the roster. You have a secondary that stinks and he did nothing to improve it. Yeah, he's on the hot seat.
He's a reactionary GM. He's not a proactive GM.
Not like yes and no, because he doesn't even make any reactionary moves. The reactionary move, the secondary stinks. They have all young guys, inexperienced. No one is good whatsoever. What move does he make? None. So it wasn't even proactive. Let's just go out ahead of it and get it. The secondary stunk last year. He did nothing to improve it. This year, he's not proactive or reactionary. He's neither. Mm-hmm. Keep the coach. Everything else around right now seemingly has to go.
All right, that was enough Indianapolis Colts talk. Penn State, Ohio State.
Here we go.
What's here we go?
No, I'm ready. I'm ready for it.
I'm just asking. I did my top 5 teams in college football right now. Okay. Guess who my top 5 teams were.
Oregon 1. So you
Correct.
Put Georgia 2.
Correct.
I don't think you put Penn State. I think you put Penn State 4.
Wrong. I put Penn State 3.
Okay. Ohio, no. Texas 4, Ohio State 5.
Wrong and wrong. I put Miami 4, and I put A&M 5. Texas has to earn back my trust after their performances the last 2 weeks. They got stomped by Georgia, and then very underwhelming up against Vanderbilt. And Ohio State, I think Ohio State will be back in the top 5 at the end of the year. But it's based off right now. They had that terrible lack of awareness up against Oregon at the end of the game. And then up against Nebraska, they didn't look good.
They look terrible.
Considering what this great talent is. So with that being said, is Aller playing this week?
I have no idea.
Okay.
I hope so.
Has there been any indication from... James Franklin.
You think James Franklin would tell the truth?
Can I ask you a serious question? I know you were embarrassed. You even said to me you were embarrassed for James Franklin, how he handled the situation last week.
Oh, yes.
Initially.
Yes.
When he apologizes to the media after a win, by the way, and goes, hey, early in the week I didn't handle that situation right. Are we getting that apology if they would have lost that game to Wisconsin? Just wondering. I don't think there's a chance in hell.
Probably, the reason why I say probably not is because that is no longer a story because Penn State losing to Wisconsin is the main story.
And let me be clear, I don't need an apology from James Franklin. I don't usually like to question apologies. I think James Franklin is a douche, so he showed his true colors. I don't even care. But that did cross my mind knowing how fraudulent he is. I think he was trying to look like a good guy when he looked so bad. And he's like, oh, we won. Let me then go out of my way to apologize when no one was thinking about that moment after the game on Saturday.
I'm just glad that is the story and not, again, talking about a loss to Wisconsin.
Yeah.
But, yeah, that's
all right, so who's going to win? Because even though Ohio State's out of my top 5, I think this game's more important for Ohio State than it is Penn State. And I know you're going to say, well, if Penn State can't win a big game now, they're never going to be able to win a big game. I know you. But you don't have a loss on the season. Ohio State loses this game. I know they could still somehow, depending on how it breaks out, win the Big Ten championship. But you have 2 losses. You're on the verge of not making the college football playoff.
You are, and from a record perspective, yes, Ohio State needs this game, but I think Penn State needs to show. James Franklin needs to break through, and you need a signature win. I think going into the playoff, that's this game. All year long, I've tried to be measured. I got burned last year by going all in with Penn State, and I got embarrassed both thinking they were going to beat Ohio State.
We are!
I didn't think they're going to be Michigan, so I got that right at least. But I thought for sure they're going to the Horseshoe last year and beating Ohio State. Got embarrassed. With that said, I'm getting back on the horse. They're winning this game because Ohio State's offensive line is the worst unit in this game, and I don't know how. They can't fix it in a week. They are too injured. Their left tackle go out in the Oregon game. Their backup left tackle got carted off last week. They are a complete mess right now. And you saw that's why they barely and almost lost to Nebraska, because they ran for 2.1 yards per carry. We're the 2 best running backs in college football. 2.1 yards per carry, at least the best 2 running back duos, I should say, in the country with those 2 guys in Judkins and Henderson. I don't think they're running the ball this week. And I don't think if you put the ball in Will Howard's hands 40 times to throw it, you're winning. I think Penn State's a lower scoring game, like 27-23. I think they win.
I think Ohio State's winning the game.
That's fine. It's a close game. I think it's a very close game.
I think it's going to be a close game, but I think Ohio State's going to win by 4.
Okay.
24-20 or 27-20. I'm going to take Ohio State based off one thing and one thing only. You're picking Penn State.
That's fine. I mean, both coaches need to win in the worst way.
Let me tell you.
Ryan Day, 2-6 against top 5 teams.
This is going to be like, what disease do you want from me watching this game? Because I can't stand Ryan Day. I actually think now I dislike Ryan Day more than James Franklin. But
interesting.
This is the fake tough guy bowl. Oh, Ryan Day. He's insufferable. He tries to act like he's this great football coach. You inherited a great program from Urban Meyer, and you haven't been able to beat Michigan in 3 years, and Michigan has started to pants you, and you're lucky that Harbaugh left, or else you would have been fired at the end of this year. All right? So Ryan Day, he's insufferable. He actually, and it pains me to say this because he's a 2-time man of Temple University when he's on their coaching staff. He may be more of a weasel.
Wow.
Than James Franklin. He's more of an accomplished weasel, but he's still a weasel than James Franklin.
I guess the surprise is
he doesn't really
say that much, though.
Testing 1 2 3. Testing 1 2 3. I will be rooting for Penn State this weekend.
Wow.
Over Ohio State. I think Ohio State will win, but I will be rooting.
That actually makes me nervous. I will say, you've been the mush recently.
Well, hold on.
So I hope your mushing skills are not venturing over to me here.
I'm picking Ohio State, though. So it doesn't matter if I'm rooting for Penn State. But I will say this. Remember that time in the NCAA tournament when I said I'm going to lead Penn State to victory in college basketball, and you got very annoyed at me?
What happened?
And they won the tournament
game.
They
lost to Texas.
No, they won the tournament game.
They
the
won
first tournament game.
That doesn't count.
The first tournament game. And then I jumped off the bandwagon after the first.
That doesn't count.
It does.
They lost
it was an 8-9 game, right? Or a 7-10.
Lost to Texas. That's all I remember.
Okay. Anything else?
No, that is it. Let's go. Big energy on noon.
Can you stop slamming the desk?
Can we get a night game, please? Can we have college football game times go back to being controlled by the schools?
You
get some good environments here.
You just blew out my headphones for crying out loud. I can't hear anything.
Sorry.
Stop with the. You want to do this fake outrage stuff with JR or on your Hick at Night show? Go slam the table there, all right? You don't slam the desk here. Because I actually got a complaint about you slamming the desk.
What?
Sully texted me. And Sully says the thing that annoys me the most is when Hickey's on, he slams the desk. And he goes, it's insufferable.
Insufferable, wow.
Yeah, he said we should shave your head if you slam the desk again.
I don't think I do it that much, really.
You do. You talk a lot with your hands. You do this thing where you adjust your seat.
I can't do that, no.
Before you go on the air, you're screaming into the microphone before you get on the air.
It's good music. Fire it up.
You sure you don't need any water?
I am okay. Thank you. No tapping out today.
Hickey didn't tap out in this segment. He's tougher than Anthony Richardson. Who would have thought? Zach Gelb Show, Infinity Sports Network. When we come on back, my 5 college football coach of the year candidates right now.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
This is the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network.
There has been an apology that has been issued. Stu, you have any idea what this apology is about? It's in the sports world, something that we've talked about in the last few days. Someone said it's not too late now to say sorry. Who do you think it was?
I'm guessing it's not the Yankee fan from last night.
I did see during the break that Austin Capobianco is in the Barstool studios right now. So I guess he is doing an interview with Barstool. But it was not, from my knowledge, Austin Capobianco. No. Any idea? Any other guess? Someone issued an apology.
No, beats me.
Trayvon Diggs has issued an apology. Not public, but Mike Leslie, the reporter, made it public. Trayvon Diggs and I have cleared the air. He apologized for the hallway incident, and I apologize for misreading the play. He explained that what I interpreted him as him jogging was in fact him slow playing a potential cutback from George Kittle. We buried the hatchet with a couple canisters. I'm sorry, folks. We buried the hatchet with a couple canisters of these nuts, is what Leslie wrote, that he presented to me after his interview with press was complete. Now, I can't see the video that he posted. It wouldn't load. And it says the video has been deleted. So I'm reading this. It's a serious apology. And he's like, oh, we buried the hatchet with a couple canisters of these nuts. Yeah, I love that. That's funny. Everyone can laugh once in a while. It's funny. Is there sound to this? Okay. I guess our guys were able to pull the audio from it. So go ahead. Listen up.
What flavor you want? I got ranch. I got banana pudding.
I'll go ranch. I'm not a banana guy.
All right, here you go.
Which one's you?
I'll go with these.
Yeah?
Banana pudding.
You see a fan sent some of these to the station too, man.
Cheers. All good.
My bad, man. If I misread the play, I appreciate you apologizing. I'm sorry too.
Appreciate you.
Thanks, man.
Good.
I'm not usually someone. It's funny now because this is the second time I've done this today. The second time in the last 30 minutes. If you want to apologize, that's fine, right? I take you for your apology and I usually move on. I'm a very forgiving person. Zach Gelb, always forgiving. But, like the James Franklin apology after the game Saturday, everyone's like, oh, he's an honest guy, wonderful guy, James Franklin. Like, I just wanted to ask if James Franklin would have lost, would he still be issuing the apology? Probably not. In that case, I don't know, Stu. Doesn't that seem extremely, and I mean extremely scripted? And the media guy's in on it. He's like probably some, kind of guy. And Trayvon Diggs probably didn't want to have to apologize for it, but he's like, Mike McCarthy was disappointed with me, even though we all know he's going to be fired at the end of the year, or just not retained because he's on the last year of his contract. That boom, that's the way that I still need to listen to my coach, and that's how I'm going to do it. And maybe there was a sponsorship tied into it with the whole nuts that they were picking from, and they got. I don't know. That sounded to me like a Fugazi kind of, like let's rub elbow and be like TV kind of guys kind of apology.
I'm sure Diggs was told by someone to do it. Like I'm sure whether it's an agent or someone that represents him or coach or something, I'm sure it was something that was like, oh, you should probably apologize for this.
So there you go. Trayvon Diggs apologizes with these nuts that he did give to Mike Leslie. All right. My 5 college football coach of the year candidates right now. I feel bad leaving one person off this list. Pat Narduzzi. I felt bad leaving Pat Narduzzi off the list. Undefeated at Pitt right now in Pat Narduzzi. So Pat Narduzzi not on the top 5 list. Spencer Danielson is on my list in at number 5. Has 1 loss. That loss was a 3-point loss to Oregon. And he has a Heisman Trophy potential winner at Boise State. Made the quarterback controversy, the big transfer coming over from USC. Didn't start him. And Madsen's been the starter. And this guy right now has won every game but the Oregon game, where they only lost by 3 points. Spencer Danielson in at number 5 on my Coach of the Year candidates. And at number 4, Coach Prime, Deion Sanders. Bowl eligibility at Colorado. Has 2 top 5, maybe top 10 draft picks. Definitely top 10. Could be 2 top 5 draft picks in Travis Hunter and Shedeur Sanders. And Colorado is alive in the Big 12. 3, undefeated in the Big 12 at BYU, Kalani Sitake. And at number 2, no one thought he'd be in this conversation after losing to Notre Dame to open up the season. Hasn't lost a game since, though. Mike Elko at A&M. And in at number 1, Curt Cignetti, undefeated right now at Indiana, and just won last week, even when he didn't have his quarterback, whose quarterback was out against Washington. We'll see if he ends up playing this upcoming week. So right now, those are my top 5 college football national Coach of the Year candidates. I felt bad about leaving Narduzzi out. But Danielson in at 5, Coach Prime in at 4, Kalani Sitake in at number 3, Mike Elko in at 2, and then Coach Cignetti of Indiana with the Hoosiers in at number 1. We will take a break. We'll come on back. We'll update you some of the biggest stories in the world of sports with some audio with the news brief. Also, still to come in 28 minutes from now. I'm precise on this show. 28 minutes from now, Mike Mayock is going to join us, and we will preview the Thursday Night Football game tomorrow and also get into Anthony Richardson getting benched. And also, I have a name that I want to throw out there to the former Raiders GM on who the Raiders could be targeting in the draft. Yes, though it's not even November yet. It's close. Not even November yet. And we're already talking about the Raiders draft. And we'll get Mike Mayock's 2 cents on that. Update time first. Here's the Ack Band, Rich Ackerman.
Infinity Sports Network Sports Flash.
And this report is brought to you by PXG Golf. Staying long and straight on the golf course is easier than ever with PXG Clubs. Take your game to a whole new level and save $10 per club at pxg.com/football and use code football. Game 5 of the World Series tonight in the Bronx. The Yankees may be down but not out, staying alive with a convincing win last night to cut the Dodgers' lead to 3-1. Last night, the hero was the hometown kid, Anthony Volpe, whose grand slam gave them a lead they'd never give up. The 23-year-old grew up watching Derek Jeter and shares the same never-say-die attitude as the former Yankee captain.
Obviously a good team, and they can do what they do and whatever they want to do, but like I said, we just have so much confidence in us that if we play that way, we feel like we'll win.
The Yankees come back with their ace, Garrett Cole, on full rest. The Dodgers answer with Game 1 starter Jack Flaherty. The Colts' decision to start Joe Flacco is not a one-week thing, with head coach Shane Steichen saying the former Super Bowl MVP is the starter going forward. Edmonton Oilers star Connor McDavid out 2 to 3 weeks with an ankle injury, and the defending champion Celtics look to make it 5 straight to open the season when they meet the Pacers in Indiana. I'm Rich Ackerman.
The Infinity Sports Network is on your smart speaker. All you have to say is, play Infinity Sports Network.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 3 minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. 1 minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Time for your daily news brief. We get you caught up on the rumors, reports, and reconnaissance from the day in sports.
Alrighty, news brief time. It is the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network. A lot of Indianapolis Colts sounds here. Let's start it off with Shane Steichen announcing the benching of Anthony Richardson.
All right, I'll start off just by confirming Joe will be our quarterback going forward. Tough decision, but one I felt was in the best interest of our football team. I feel that Joe gives us the best chance to win right now. With that being said, not giving up on Anthony by any means, really not. He's a young player with a ton of talent, and he'll use this time to continue to develop and grow as a professional.
You are giving up on him. Like, you just got to own that. Maybe one day he could be the guy moving forward. But if you actually believe with the small sample size that he played that you thought you had a franchise quarterback, even though you're trying to win games now, you're not sitting down Anthony Richardson. So you can't have it both ways. I know they're going to be politicians basically here. When you speak to the media coaches, that's what they do. But you can't have it both ways in this situation. So, Shane Steichen, could Anthony Richardson get his job back one day?
I can't predict that, but I'm not losing faith in that. I promise you that.
You got a plan?
I can't predict the future, but I mean, that would be great. We'll see. I think he just needs to keep developing and growing as a professional, and obviously just every little thing, all the little things, details, all those little things, we go through that. I mean, he's a young player. I think he's the second youngest, player in the league at the position. and just keep developing.
Stu, let's just say I moved you from the 3 to 6 p.m. Eastern time slot to 6 to 10 p.m. Eastern time.
Okay.
And let's say I'm holding a press conference and someone goes, you're saying you brought someone else in to win now. We'll use Hickey. We brought Hickey in to win now. And I put Stu from 6 to 10 p.m. Eastern time. I still believe in Stu. And then someone said, well, could Stu get his job back? And I go, I can't predict the future. Would you feel like you're getting your job back?
I would feel like I will have to get used to 6 to 10.
Exactly. And I think Anthony Richardson has to get used to the bench in Indianapolis and never be thought of as the franchise quarterback again in Indianapolis. Shane Steichen on saying Anthony Richardson needs reps to grow in the pass.
Yeah, that's a great question. I know I said that, and things change there. So I think right now, sitting back and seeing a veteran that's done it at a high level for a long time, you can develop that way as well, and continue to go through that process and learn.
It's because you don't believe in him anymore. That's a good aha, I gotcha moment. Very good job by the reporters in Indianapolis. So, Shane Steichen, how did your quarterback, Anthony Richardson, or now your backup quarterback, Anthony Richardson, react to getting benched?
Tough. I mean, anytime you get that news, it's tough. You know what I mean? To lose, not be the starter anymore, it's tough. But you know what? I think he's going to handle it the right way going forward. Be a professional about it. Grind, get ready. Prepare like you're the starter because, shoot, he's still one play away.
Not very convincing. Let's go one more from Shane Steichen. He was asked about Anthony Richardson tapping out and going to the sideline and basically saying, hey, I'm out of breath right now. I got to quit on the team.
What, if any, did the tap out play this decision?
It didn't. I mean, he knows that he can't do that in that situation. That's part of the growth and the development process that we go through. And again, I think Joe gives us the best chance right now going forward.
So there is a number one reason why he was benched. I don't think the number one reason is him tapping out. Like, for example, if they had Patrick Mahomes on their team and Patrick Mahomes did that earlier on in his career, is he getting benched today? No. It's because you don't believe in him. And even though they've not seen a lot of reps on the field, there was enough there for Shane Steichen to say, we don't got that dude. And then this was the final straw that broke the camel's back, in my opinion. All right, let's hear from Anthony Richardson. Tough spot, but let's hear how he sounds. This was Anthony Richardson on how Shane Steichen told him he was no longer going to be QB1.
Shane made the decision to switch quarterbacks. How did he explain it to you? Like, why was the decision made? How did you explain that to you?
He just told me that they were going to go with Joe, and that was that. And, I just had to, just take the information and just grow.
Did he explain why?
No, not necessarily.
Hey, Stu, I'm moving you from 6 to 10 p.m. Eastern time. End of conversation. That's where I'm moving you to. You would logically ask, hey, Zach, why are you moving me from 3 to 6 to 6 to 10 p.m. Eastern?
Yep.
All right, have a good one.
That's it.
Have a good day. It's because you had a bad day. It's like, what are we doing here? They're a circus, the Colts. I'm thinking of the circus teams in the league. Panthers, circus. The Commanders, no longer a circus because Daniel Snyder is out. Jets, circus. Raiders, circus. Stu was like, when are you going to mention my team?
I knew it was coming.
The Colts, the Panthers, the Jets, the Raiders. Are those the four biggest circuses? Circus eyes? Oh, how would you make that plural there? Are those the four teams that are the biggest?
Cowboys.
Oh. Duh. How am I a national radio host and didn't even put the Cowboys on that list?
Browns maybe before, especially before this past week.
Man, you know what? As big of a joke as the Cowboys are, and this is going to hurt Jerry Jones, they may not be on the top 5 circuit list. They may not be. The Jets are more of a circus this year than the Cowboys. The Colts are more of a circus, it feels like. More people care about the Cowboys. The Raiders, they just stink. So it's close, when you go through those teams. All right, Anthony Richardson, one more on being benched after the tap-out play.
It hurts. As a competitor, definitely don't want to be told that, you're not the guy anymore, for the upcoming week. But, it's all good. I'm using this moment as an opportunity to grow and just learn from my mistakes.
Would you do anything differently with the tap-out play or say anything differently about it?
Regarding that play, I know I can't do that as a leader, especially as a quarterback of this team, and especially just as a football player in general. I can't necessarily just bring myself out of the game like that, especially in key moments like that. But, you live and you learn. You just got to, grow from it.
I feel bad for him. I do. Like, Stu, I have sympathy for Anthony Richardson. It sounds like when, a young kid gets yelled at and the dad says, hey, I'm not mad at you. I'm just disappointed. And then you get the waterworks. That's what Anthony Richardson sounds like. He just got benched. And I know he wasn't crying, but he sounded like he was really rattled by this. So this is no fun. I did talk to Joe Flacco last night. I exchanged a few messages with him, congratulated him, and we have a little bit of a back and forth from the whole conversation last year when he came on the show and went viral, and he was like, what did I come back from coming off the couch? I don't deserve comeback player of the year. So I exchanged a few messages with Joe Flacco last night. Let's hear from Joe Flacco on Anthony Richardson getting benched.
I know that when I was that young, there's no chance that I would have been able to have the perspective and just the right head on my shoulders to handle it and take it the right way. Mm-hmm. But now I do have that perspective. So if you can kind of give any of that to him in terms of just, this doesn't have to be a negative thing. There's a lot of positives on his end that can come from this. Like I said, he's very young with a bright future. There's plenty of guys that come into this league and don't play right away. I mean, look, there's a bunch of guys around the league that haven't played right as they come in the league, or have gotten second or third chances as they've kind of matured and grown a little bit. And I think that's probably, not to talk for the Colts and Shane, but you would think that's part of the thought process, of at least a little bit, is to try to help him out.
Stu, you want Anthony Richardson on the Raiders next year? 5th round pick? 4th round pick?
If they can't get one of the top quarterbacks, then I would be open to it.
Okay.
But I'd prefer a top 10 pick, used on a quarterback.
Shador Sanders?
Yes.
Oh. Cam Ward?
Yes.
Carson Beck?
I've soured a little on Carson Beck, but I would still, if they're in the spot to take the 13 taking a quarterback, I would probably take him.
Jalen Milroe?
No.
Nussmeier at LSU?
Definitely not. At least after this weekend now, yeah.
That was a no for me, dog, is what Stu just did. Quinn Ewers?
No.
Yeah, I think it's just a college quarterback.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, cool. Let's go to Brian Flores. He actually is the lone person who is defending the Anthony Richardson tap-out play.
I know there's been a lot of talk about the play where he came out, but did you watch the play? That throws a 300-pounder off from me, runs around. I thought it was an incredible play. I got tired watching him, but I think he's, very, very talented young player. He's a dangerous player.
Yeah, I watched the play. I went back. I said, let me watch it again. Maybe Brian Flores is right on something. So I'm like, let me watch it one more time. It's still weak. It's still weak when he does it. Jerry Jones is on Sean and RJ on 105.3 The Fan in Dallas, and he had a little response for Trayvon Diggs telling a reporter, "These nuts."
Familiar at all with these nuts?
Well, there's in that context, no, I'd have to hear it said in context.
Okay. I'll send you the audio. I'm not going to say it to you, and I'm not going to rephrase it to you, I
want to know what it looks like. I'm sitting here with a half smirk.
Jerry Jones basically yeah, I know what it means. It's basically what I told you two clowns last week when I came on your show. And basically threatened to get you fired. You have a problem with me? Yeah, how about these nuts? All right, one more from Jerry Jones and not giving up on his team or coaches.
I have a lot of faith in these players, and I have a lot of faith in this coaching staff. The coaching staff's got their eye on the things that we need to improve on. We need to improve on communication across the board, and we can. It comes better as the season goes along. We'll get better with the communication.
Here'd be my follow-up. If you believe so much of the coaching staff, why is Mike McCarthy right now lame dunk coach of the final year of his deal? Boom. Roasted. These nuts. How do you like that, Jerry Jones? Aaron Rodgers, how tough it is to play on a Thursday night game.
Yeah, it's always tough, but I think Thursday night is as tough as it is on the body. It's good on the mind because you can just move on. So Brick did a good job of kind of cleaning everything up and then moving on, We hate these games because they're a short week, but we love them because of the weekend. And they feel a lot better when you win.
Alrighty. Not anything embarrassing, I guess, that he said. Aaron Rodgers, how about Gottschalk's comments on the Patriots basically saying you don't look like what you used to look like?
Did you see the comments from Gottschalk after the game?
No.
He basically said that you didn't look like yourself, that you weren't mobile, that he could have chased you down.
He's probably right. Yeah. I was hurting, but I feel better today.
And then finally, Rob Gronkowski on Up and Adams. He knows the Yankee fan from last night that disrupted Mookie Betts.
That guy right there grabbing Mookie Betts' glove
Don't tell me you know
was
him.
my friend in college.
Gronk, stop it right now.
He was on the ice hockey team, the club Arizona Wildcats team, ice hockey team. And let me tell you, the whole hockey team, they were absolute maniacs. They were undescribable just how wild
Animals?
these guys, animals, yes. How wild these guys were. Him doing that represents him very well. I mean, he is all in for his teams. He is all in for the Yankees. I remember him talking about the Yankees all the time, how he loves them so much. And that describes him perfectly, just doing whatever it takes to help his team out. But he's a beauty.
Okay,
he is a beauty.
Okay,
And I just want to say congratulations.
Congratulations!
For shining when your moment came.
By the way, I have to issue an apology. I apologize to Maggie Gray for thinking maybe she dressed up for Halloween too quickly while there was like all this hair and glitter on the chair that she sits in. I just saw a video that Amy brought her adorable dog to work and sitting in the chair to my right. You know, I'm just saying that we didn't clean up after ourselves. That would be an issue. Would be an issue. Maybe we should clean up around here. A little respect around here at the 345 Hudson Street Studios. But adorable dog, so I'm not mad.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 2 minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
To infinity and beyond.
He's live. He's nationwide. This is the Zach Gelb Show. Here's your host, Zach Gelb.
Alrighty, hour number 3 of our radio program. That's right, it is the Zach Gelb Show, coast to coast on the Infinity Sports Network. Tomorrow, on many of these same stations, you can listen to the great Ian Eagle and Mike Mayock call a Thursday night football game on Westwood 1 between the New York Jets and the Houston Texans. Halloween. So you could trick or treat with Ian Eagle and Mike Mayock, and the former NFL general manager is kind enough to join us right now. Mike, appreciate the time. How you been?
My pleasure, Zach. I've been doing great, and I'm looking forward to doing a game with Ian. I get a kick out of him. He's got a dry sense of humor, and we have a good time whenever we do a game.
Yeah, and this game, before the season started, you thought maybe you'd have 2 AFC Super Bowl contenders. The Texans, they've now suffered a big injury. We'll get to the Jets in just a bit, with Stephon Diggs now being out for the year. And they don't have Nico Collins back yet because he's still on IR from an injury he suffered a few weeks ago. So if people were thinking Texans in the Super Bowl, I know it's a next man up mentality, but how do you kind of evaluate their chances of making a run for this thing without Stephon Diggs now?
Yeah, it's a good question. They're 6-2. The good news, I believe, is that if they can get past the Jets tomorrow night, it looks like Nico Collins is tracking for a Week 9 return, and that's against Detroit. That ought to be a fun football game. Realistically, my biggest concern for them, I know they're beat up at wideout. They got a young kid named John Mechie, who I'm anxious to see if he can step up. I watched a lot of tape at him at Alabama. He's had a star-crossed career. He had to battle leukemia in 22, a lot of injuries last year. He caught 3 balls last week when Stephon went down. So I'm anxious to see how he plays. But my bigger concern for them, big picture, Zach, if you're talking Super Bowl, is the offensive line. I don't think they've played well. Their left guard has struggled for me on tape. Kenyon Green. And I think it affects the quarterback a little bit. I don't think he's trusting that offensive line 100% at this point. So to me, that's the bigger issue is can they get that offensive line where they want it so they can compete with the best teams in the league.
And the opponent they're going up against tomorrow, the Jets, are just an unmitigated disaster right now. We know Saleh was fired a few weeks ago. The defense, it's good, but it's not all-time great like they thought they had. The line's a problem still in New York. Rodgers looking old. Has been able to connect with Garrett Wilson, and this team's lost 5 in a row. They can't afford to lose another game. I already think their season's over, but is there anything when you look at the Jets that you go, maybe they could turn it around here and at least find a way to surprise some people up against the Texans?
I think the only way it can happen is, you're 2-6, you've got 9 games left, you got to win at least 7 of the 9, if not 8. If they can start to play more consistent football, and it hasn't been good, Zach. You hit a lot of the issues on the head. It hasn't been good. But if they can get on a roll, the schedule favors them. The only winning team left on the schedule after tomorrow night is at Buffalo late in the season. So, they play a bunch of games that are winnable, but they've got to be more consistent in all 3 phases to even think about winning a football game before you can even think about getting into the playoffs.
You watch more film than anybody. When we get into cornerbacks in the league, like there was a big debate before the season, who's better, Pat Surtain or Sauce Gardner? I said you're splitting hairs, but I like Pat Surtain the second better than Sauce Gardner. Sauce looks lost right now this year after 2 awesome rock star years. What's going on with the young defensive back, in your opinion?
I don't know. I've watched a bunch of his tape, and to be honest, one of my favorite practices I've ever watched live in my life was my last year with the Raiders. I went on the road and watched Cincinnati and then went to Ohio State before we played at the Browns. And I spent 2 days at Cincinnati, and I watched Sauce Gardner going up against Pierce, the kid that went in the 2nd or 3rd round, the wideout Alec Pierce to Indianapolis. And let me tell you something, they practiced their asses off. It was really fun watching Gardner compete with him every snap of those practices. I'm a big believer in who he is with his length, his quickness, his overall top-end speed, ball skills. The whole defense confounds me a little bit because on paper, a lot of the numbers look good. They're number 4 in yardage, number 11 in points, yet they've got to stop a below average team to win a football game on Sunday. And and a backup quarterback takes them 70 yards in 12 plays. And to your point, the key play in that drive was to a wide receiver who beat Gardner to the inside on a 43-yard post play. Now, he had no help to the inside, and the throw was pretty good, but there's been inconsistencies throughout this defense. And again, on paper, it looks pretty good, but the more tape I watch, the more questions I have.
Assuming the Jets don't turn it around, and I can't see how they turn it around where all of a sudden they make the playoffs. If they're able to get 8 or 9 wins, it would be like one of the greatest coaching jobs I've ever seen in the final 2 months of the season as Mike Mayock is here with us. Do you think it's time for Aaron to retire? He has another year left on that contract. Should the Jets be interested in him coming back next year?
He turns 41 in December. The tape is nowhere near as strong as it used to be. I keep waiting to see, okay, let's knock the rust off an Achilles. And Achilles is hard when you're 20, 25, let alone 40. So last week, I thought he threw 3 or 4 really good deep balls, especially one to Garrett Wilson off his back foot that looked like a vintage Aaron Rodgers throw. But it's interesting because, Zach, the old saying that when a quarterback's eyes and his feet are connected, he's got a chance to be special. And right now, I think what we're seeing is, a 40-year-old mind and eyes, which are pretty good, and he can see things, but I'm not sure physically he can get where he needs to get. He can't just sit there and slip everything sidearm and rip it 22 yards on it. That's just not happening right now. So I thought he had Devontae Adams a few times last week and didn't take the shot with him. So to answer your question, I think the jury's out on him, and I don't think he's playing high-level football at this point at all.
If I take Kansas City out of the picture, which is impossible to do, but just for the sake of this conversation, Mike Mayock, in the AFC, who's the team right now that you have the most confidence in to get to the Super Bowl if Kansas City's not getting there?
Kansas City's not there. I love the way Buffalo's playing right now, and especially getting the wide receiver they got before the trade deadline with Cooper. Let's see, AFC West, outside of them, I don't think anybody's going to make any noise. I just told you what I thought about Houston, who's a really good football team, which brings you back to Baltimore and Pittsburgh. And they're the two teams, I think, along with Buffalo, that you can legitimately talk potential Super Bowl about.
If everyone's healthy, is Mike Tomlin making the right decision, continuing to go with Russell Wilson, in your opinion?
You know what I've learned over the years, Zach, is in Mike Tomlin, I trust. And on paper, sometimes, like a few weeks ago, I was going, you're 4-2, and Fields is more athletic. He can do more things as a younger man, and Russell hasn't looked good the last couple of years. And I'm thinking, wow. But then my next thought was, I trust Mike Tomlin, and what Russell's done the last 2 weeks justifies that decision. And I think the cool thing is that Justin Fields is still a talented young quarterback, and I think he's a smart enough kid to take advantage of this time frame. So I think right now it's a win-win. Russell's playing at a high level. They're winning football games. Baltimore lost a game nobody thought they'd lose last week. And if he has to ride Justin Fields later, he'll have an opportunity to go back to him.
I know the Colts had a press conference today, as Mike Mayock is here with us, right? They make it official. Anthony Richardson going to get sat down. Joe Flacco's now the quarterback. They're trying to win more football games now. Flacco gives them a better chance to do that than Richardson. But then Shane Steichen kind of was saying, yeah, there's still a future here for Anthony Richardson. I kind of rolled my eyes at that. If they really thought he could be the franchise quarterback, I don't think they're sitting him down this early in his career. But you've been in those rooms before. Kind of take me through how you evaluate the future of Anthony Richardson in this league.
Well, I think there are two conflicting thought processes here. And one is the team is 4-4. And in that AFC race that you just mentioned, they're very much in the hunt. Now, they're not going to win their division, but if they can get to 9 or 10 wins, they can get into the playoffs, which is a goal for every organization. And if you're Shane Steichen or if you're Chris Ballard, and trust me, I understand how your job is at risk. I got fired after going 10-7. So at the end of the day, there's a lot of pressure on these guys to win football games now. Okay, so that's one thought process. You're trying to make the playoffs. And I believe, and I think Shane believes, and I think Chris believes, that Joe Flacco gives them a better chance of making the playoffs. However, you're doing it at the risk of not developing a quarterback that might need more development than any first-round quarterback I've seen in years. He's gifted, he's talented, he's got arm talent. I think it matters to him, but he needs reps. He needs thousands of reps. So on the one hand, you're trying to get in the playoffs. On the other hand, whether you get in or not, you're going to come back next July with a first-round quarterback that isn't ready to start anymore at that point than he is today.
Does Bryce Young just have to get out of Carolina with how disastrous that situation has been as of late, or is he just someone that we all just missed on? Just wondering.
I think he needs to get elsewhere. If you look at the it's funny you brought it up, Zach, because I was looking at some of the names earlier today about quarterbacks going back to the 2020 draft and all the way up through now and the different classes. And you look at Bryce Young, you look at Richardson, C.J. Stroud's the anomaly there. The kid in Tennessee, Will Levis was the first pick. He's a talented kid too, but he can't figure it out yet. C.J. Stroud's the only one that's playing at a high level. And you got to kind of go back. I mean, that Trevor Lawrence year, I think there were 5 quarterbacks in that class that are all struggling right now, 5 first-round quarterbacks. So that quarterback thing is a hit or miss. Sometimes it's the kid, to your point. Maybe we miss on the kid. But I believe if there's a certain talent level, it comes down to the fit within an organization and how much support they give the kid to develop. And that's exactly what you just brought up with Anthony Richardson. How's he going to develop if you bench him now? Well, we're trying to go to the playoffs. So what's the big picture look like? And I think too many kids get put in a position where the fit doesn't work for where they are at a development in their career.
Right now, when I look at all the quarterbacks in college, and I know you were great at this at the NFL Network, I'll never forget when the draft was in Philadelphia. You would have thought when you walked in the room, the Pope was in town with how many people in the media were trying to talk and hold court with you. When I look at the draft for this upcoming year, I haven't been in love with Nussmeier, Ewers, Beck, Milroe. The 2 quarterbacks that I'm watching that I like the most are Cam Ward and Shedeur Sanders. How about yourself, Mike?
I think Shedeur has been hard to I did 3 of his tapes last year and 2 of them this year so far. And his offensive line was so bad a year ago, I didn't even feel like I could put a grade on him. I didn't think it was fair to Shedeur. Okay. This year I've done a couple more tapes, and I think he's in the conversation. I think the most fun I had watching the game, though, was Cam Ward, the Miami kid, who I didn't know anything about. And I just put a tape in a few weeks ago. And the thing I loved about him, even though he made some bad decisions, most of these kids, you watch them throw 30 balls in a game and 27 of them are within 10 yards of the line of scrimmage. I mean, this kid pushes the ball down the field. He's got an innate feel for touch. He can layer it. He's not afraid to make a mistake. He's not afraid to give a guy a chance to make a play. And I like that. And that's a little different than a lot of these guys. I've been disappointed with the Georgia kid. I thought he played poorly a couple of weeks ago in the loss. I thought he had a poor half again. Milroe, I kind of like Milroe, to be honest with you. I think there's a lot there. I think he's a big, strong, physical kid, both from a run and pass perspective. I got to really drill down on his accuracy but he's a young kid again. It's really, excuse me, we're talking about guys in the NFL that we can't figure out at age 26 and 7, and these kids are 20 and 21, and it's even harder.
I have a theory, and I'll just run it by you. And this could just be a sports talk radio theory. You tell me. Brady is the new minority owner, right, with the Raiders. He has a relationship with Shedeur Sanders. I think Brady's going to be making that decision on who they draft at quarterback, whether they have the pick that gets him Shedeur or not. I think Brady's going to try everything in his power to move up to go get Shedeur. What do you think about that?
I think that if he does have that kind of influence, then he probably needs to give the other job up. I mean, there's already some fine lines there. I think for me, it's way too early to talk like this. I have no idea. And basically, until I get through, there's some other quarterbacks I think are intriguing that we haven't even talked about. So to me, it's talk show radio at this time of year. It's fun, but I don't really go there at this time of year.
Do you think, knowing Mark Davis the way that you do, that he's going to really rely on Brady to make some of these decisions?
I don't know. And again, he's a minority owner, and typically minority owners don't have a voice in the building. This is a different guy now. So I think some of the mandates that the NFL put on him as far as his broadcasting career were more predicated on him being a silent minority partner. So the more involved he gets in daily operations, I think the less the networks and the other teams are going to want him involved in television.
And just because you were a great player, and we know Brady's the greatest quarterback ever, doesn't make you a great owner or executive. Like, look at Michael Jordan when he was running an NBA team. But that's tough. And hey, it could overstep your GM, but you got the greatest quarterback of all time. It's like, if you're picking a quarterback, how wouldn't you use that as a resource?
I think using him as a resource is smart. I think having him pick your guys is a different conversation. You're paying a general manager and a head coach to make those decisions. So there's some real danger in just bringing in a guy and just saying, hey, you're the guy. You're going to make all. It's one thing to bring them in and say, okay, let's spend a week grinding tape together. And let's talk quarterbacks. Let's talk about what you like about each of these kids and why, what you don't like. And it'd be interesting to even take him out as you evaluate these quarterbacks face to face. When you have private workouts, when you go out to dinner with them, when you try to get to know them as people, that kind of feedback from a guy like Tom Brady, I think would be invaluable. But at a certain point, all I'm saying is I think he's got to make a decision as to what he's going to be. Is he going to be a broadcaster or is he going to be an NFL executive? Because the more he has to say, the more they're going to demand he make a decision.
He's Mike Mayock, the former NFL general manager, does a phenomenal job. Going to be on the call tomorrow night on many of these same stations if they do carry Westwood One for the Westwood One production of Thursday Night Football between the Houston Texans and the Jets. Mike, appreciate the time. Good to catch up. Thank you.
Same here. Thank you, Zach.
There you go. Mike Mayock joining us. Really good stuff with him. Appreciate the former NFL GM hopping on board with us. We'll react to a little bit more about Anthony Richardson and also what Mike threw out there about how Brady's got to kind of pick one. Do you want to be a hands-on minority owner, or is the TV gig with Fox really going to be the number one thing that is your priority? So we'll get to that on the other side. It is the Zach Gelb Show. Sports fans, listen up. 1 in 8 men will be diagnosed with prostate cancer, and bladder leaks could be a side effect. That's why Depend is teaming up with the Prostate Cancer Foundation to encourage screening, because health is a long game and it's yours to win. Now, here's the cool part. Through November, Depend is contributing up to $300,000 to prostate cancer research by donating 40 cents for every purchase of Shields guards and Real Fit products. Void in Mississippi. Learn more at Depend.com.
You're in a 4.5 minute break. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. 1 minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. "45 seconds remaining. "30 seconds remaining. "15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
The Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network.
All righty, Stu, I got to ask you, we just had Mike Mayock on, and he was kind of making it clear that if Brady is going to be more than hands-on, and if he's basically going to be making the decision, premature conversation, as to whom the Raiders are going to be drafting, that he kind of then needs to give up broadcasting. Do you think that is the case, Stu? Like, Brady is now your minority owner of the Raiders. If Brady is really driving the bus on this decision on who they're going to draft at quarterback, do you think he needs to step away from, $375 million as the number one color analyst on the Fox games with Kevin Burkhardt?
So it's weird. I don't see it as like a conflict of interest, like as an owner. Like, I don't think it's like, if he wants to be a great part owner, I don't think he needs to give it up. But if he wants to be a great broadcaster, just because of all the stipulations that are kind of placed on him, I think it's just like, can't go to a production meeting. I just feel like if you're the lead NFL analyst, you should be able to do those things. And the fact that he can't, I don't know if that's going to get the very best out of him. I'm thinking he has to give it up, but I just wonder if he's going to, hit kind of like a ceiling, if you will.
So this may be a stupid question, but I'm going to ask it anyway. So, like, the production meeting to me, like, I think it's valuable. I do. Sometimes those coaches actually give you stuff. Sometimes the players actually give you stuff. Sometimes it's a big nothing burger. The thing that I'm most curious about, talking about as a fan, like, you took it from a different approach. You took it from a broadcasting perspective, which, that's fine. As a fan, I want to know if Tom's going to be honest. And I thought Tom was at his best 2 weeks ago when he did the Chiefs game up against the Niners. It was really cool, him commenting on Patrick Mahomes while the game was being played, the GOAT, after someone who's trying to take the throne away from Tommy Brady. The part I don't get, and I understand the league doesn't want an owner in any capacity, majority or minority owner, to be criticizing the officials. But with that being said, like, you're telling me if Tom Brady criticizes an official, hey, Kev, don't like that call. I didn't really see much there on pass interference. Like, is that deemed being critical of the officials. Like, he's not saying, hey, this official should be fired. This official blows. This official's like the worst ever. If he just says, I don't know about that call, Kev, which is him basically saying, I disagree with the call. Is Roger Goodell going to have his panties in a bunch? And is he going to be then fining Tom Brady? Like, Stu, that's my legitimate question, is why can't Brady in his broadcasting role, even though he's a minority owner of the Raiders, I'm not saying be excessive, but just be honest. And if he doesn't like something, not slamming the official, you got to do it with the proper tone, but just kind of say, hey, I thought the call shouldn't have been made. Or I thought that was, just as much as he could say, hey, I think that's a good call too. That's the thing where I think from the broadcasting perspective, as a consumer, that's what I don't like about Brady being in the booth.
Yeah, I agree, because in that case, if what you just brought up, if he can't do that, then kind of why is he there?
Yeah.
As a viewer when you're watching whatever the game of the week is on Fox.
So I'm looking at the draft right now. This is how you know that we are in the middle of the football season. And we're also on a Wednesday edition of the show. I'm looking at the Raiders right now. They are currently sitting. Do you know where the Raiders are in the draft right now, Stu? I have the list in front of me. If you had to guesstimate where the Raiders are picking in the draft right now, do you know?
Well, I know there's 10 teams that are 2 wins or less, so I'm guessing they're kind of in that 7 or 8 range.
Yeah, they're number 7.
Yeah.
I didn't know if you yet as a football fan
I'm there.
No, I know you're there knowing this team stinks, but if you have literally started to look at mock drafts and all that stuff.
I have, yes.
Okay.
I don't know if I've looked at one this week to where I knew it was exactly, 8 or 7 or whatever, but yeah.
That's what I do at the end of the draft. Like the current draft, the one that just happened. I will then, the next day, even though I make fun of it on there, but when these guys who I like, Chris Trapasso and Ryan Wilson, they go, here's my 7-round mock draft for the 2025 draft, the day after the 2024 draft happened. I then look at those drafts, not that I take any of those predictions seriously, but then I look to see who they view as the top players in college football. So when we do our, hey, countdown to kickoff segments, we look really smart. Oh, how'd you have this quarterback on that no one ever was talking about? Oh, well, it's because Ryan Wilson and Chris Trapasso basically told me that they were going to be a top 15 pick. Like Deion Walker at Kentucky, the lineman. Why did we have him on last year? Because I saw he was mocked top 15 in a draft by either Ryan Wilson or Chris Trapasso. But anyway, I'll look at their latest mock drafts in just a second. But right now, Carolina is in at 1. We could see Carolina taking a quarterback, even though I think it would behoove them to trade back in the draft. The Tennessee Titans are 2. They need a quarterback. 3, the Patriots. They're not going to take a quarterback. The Jets. If the Jets are picking at 4th, Aaron Rodgers, if you're still back, I don't care if your feelings are hurt. You're drafting a quarterback and you're sitting him for a year. Jacksonville, they will rock and roll with Trevor Lawrence. The Saints need a quarterback. So right now, Stu, your team is at 7th, and you have in a quarterback draft that there may be a lot of guys go, but I don't think there's a lot of great quarterbacks or potentially great quarterbacks in this draft. You already just right now, and let's see how the cookie crumbles, right? You have 10 teams, as Stu said, 9 teams. No, 10 teams with 2 wins. It's 9 teams with 2 wins, 8 teams with 2 wins, and then 2 teams with 1 win. So Carolina and Tennessee both have 1 win. And then you have the Pats, the Jets, the Jaguars, the Saints, the Raiders, the Browns, the Giants, and the Dolphins with 2 wins. So a lot could change. But if this stays put, Stu, you're going to have to potentially battle with Carolina, Tennessee, the Jets, and the Saints all being in front of you. And, even if one of those teams don't take a quarterback, you would think at least 3 of those teams are going to take a quarterback. You guys got to tank.
Got to tank.
You got to tank. That's what's got to happen right now.
And they might have to make a trade, too. I don't know if they're bad enough to finish 2nd or 3rd. Even if they try, they might squeak out another win or 2, which could keep them in the 5, 6, 7 range.
So you look at then potentially 2 teams to trade up. The teams that are going to be pretty much at the bottom, New England, even though maybe they're about to get hot after beating the Jets, who knows? Maybe I'm talking about a late playoff push. No, I'm just kidding. New England could definitely trade back. And I'm open for the Patriots getting a bunch of picks and trading back because they have what we think is their quarterback. And I do think Carolina will be open for business. Hey, if Carolina loves a quarterback Like, if they love Cam Ward or Shedeur Sanders, all right, you take the quarterback. But it's so bare there right now in Carolina. I think you do what the Bears did to you, is you build the roster and then you go get the quarterback, especially when there's not perceived to be a generational quarterback in this draft. All righty, Stu. I'm looking at the mock drafts right now.
Oh, boy.
Huh. You know what's weird? They didn't take, at least Ryan Wilson didn't. He just did how he perceived the order's going to be. Like, he's the Patriots with the number 1 pick right now.
So he's predicting.
Yeah. So Chris Trapasso did it as what it is right now. Travis Hunter would be the first overall pick to Carolina. Cam Ward would go 2 to the Titans. McMillan, the receiver at Arizona, would go 3 to the Pats. The tackle Will Campbell of the Jets of LSU would go 4 to the Jets. Will Johnson, the corner, who's been on the show a bunch, will go 5th to Jacksonville. Mikael Williams, the Georgia edge rusher, would go 6 to the Saints. Now, hold on. Only one quarterback going so far. Do you think the Raiders took a quarterback in his mock draft?
Based on your tone, I'm guessing no.
Took a defensive lineman who is a very good player, Mason Graham at Michigan. And then you got Emeka Buka, the wide receiver at Ohio State, going to Cleveland at 8. Shedeur going to the Giants at 9. How about that? Why are you shaking your head no? You don't want Shedeur Sanders?
No.
Are you a Giant fan?
Yes.
Well, like, you guys haven't had a quarterback since Eli. Shedeur's a heck of a player.
It's not like it's forever. It's a couple of years.
It's a long time. You had Daniel Jones. He stinks.
They're saving it for Arch next year.
And you know what? Those rats in the Manning family would play that game. Oh, we're not going to this place or that place. We're only going to the Mara family.
Well, could happen.
So you don't want the Giants taking a quarterback this year?
Well, if the right one's there, yes.
Okay, so you don't think Shedeur's the right guy?
I don't know. I'm not a Dion fan, so
okay.
So
you're a hater.
What's that?
You're a hater.
You want to call me that? Yeah,
You weren't popping champagne when Colorado was bowl eligible, Ack?
No, definitely not.
Okay,
definitely not.
Why do you don't like
not
Dion?
With that schedule.
You don't like Dion? Why not?
No, I think he's all about himself.
Oh, okay. So that annoys you.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, I can't really disagree when you say Dion's all about himself. Yeah,
there you go.
That's tough to disagree with. But if Coach Prime's listening, even though you bailed on our interview this year because you still thought we were associated with CBS when we're no longer associated on CBS, I'm a believer, Coach Prime.
Even if we are, we're not all. You're not the same as anybody else.
Yes, I'm not the same. Whoever he's annoyed with, that's CBS.
You know,
that was the one moment where I stopped believing in Coach Prime, and I will even admit it may have impacted my prediction on Colorado this year. As a
would have been like me holding a grudge against Emmitt Smith when he was with the Cowboys.
Wait! So, you and Emmitt Smith have beef?
No, I'm just saying. It would be like, I'm not talking to you. You're a teammate of Deion Sanders.
Oh, gotcha. I was going to say, I didn't know you and Emmitt Smith had beef.
No, not at all.
It is the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network. We will take our final break of the day. Come on back in 5 minutes. Update time first. Here is the Act Man, Rich Ackerman.
Infinity Sports Network. Sports Flash.
Well, Game 5 of the World Series tonight in the Bronx. The Yanks got one back and look to force a trip back to L.A. for a Game 6 Friday. They're now down 3-1 after their convincing victory last night. Freddie Freeman's 2-run homer in the first became an afterthought this time after Anthony Volpe's grand slam gave the Yankees a lead they'd never give up. The Dodgers' first baseman, though, remains confident despite last night's setback.
I think we're going to be okay. This team knows what we got to do tomorrow. We know that we're going to come out and we're going to keep those bats down. It's very long, so they came out swinging, and we'll try and do the same thing tomorrow.
The matchup on the mound, a repeat of Game 1. Jack Flaherty goes for the Dodgers against Yankees ace Garrett Cole. Joe Flacco is not only the Colts starter this weekend, but head coach Shane Steichen said the former Super Bowl MVP is the starter going forward and that he gives them the best chance to win. Andy Dalton returned to practice today for the Panthers, but Bryce Young will start Sunday against the Saints. The Celtics have opened their title defense with 4 straight wins and look to extend their winning ways tonight in Indiana, while the Cavaliers, 4-0 under new coach Kenny Atkinson, host 3-1 Lakers. I'm Rich Ackerman.
Hey, like us on Facebook. Our handle is INF Sportsnet. That's INF Sportsnet for our Facebook page. This is the Infinity Sports Network.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
this is Howie.
And this is Nick.
From the Backstreet Boys.
And you're listening to the Zach Gelb Show. And guess what? Zach is back. All right.
He's live. He's nationwide. This is the Zach Gelb Show.
Oh my God.
You know, maybe NBA players should channel their inner Bella B in Calgary. What Bella B in Calgary is to the Ask the Pros participation to this show when we do this Ask the Pros question of the day is what the NBA needs out of their players. To show up and to deliver. Because in the regular season, there's way too much load management in the NBA. Where it's like, yeah, I won't play tonight. I won't play tomorrow. I won't play for 2 weeks. All righty? So, Adam Silver, maybe you should consult with Bella B in Calgary, how she is actively participating in her Ask the Pros questions of the day. And maybe you could get her to kind of rub off on your NBA players so they actually show up and play. All right? That's all I'm asking for. So anyway, it's time to answer Ask the Pros question of the day. It's brought to you by O'Reilly Auto Parts. And Bella B in Calgary says, Zach, did you pass your driver's test on the first try? You can submit a question by tweeting at INFSportsNet or at Zach Gelb using the hashtag AskThePros. Think O'Reilly Auto Parts for your car care needs. Get guaranteed low prices and excellent customer service from the professional parts people at O'Reilly Auto Parts. Stu, did you pass your driver's test on the first try?
I did, but I probably shouldn't have.
Why?
So I did everything perfectly, and then, of course, the parallel parking, I messed up, and I actually hit the cone.
Did you? Yeah. And they still passed you?
Yeah. The guy was very nice. The guy could tell I was very upset. The guy, by the way, looked
nervous.
I was nervous. It's funny. I was nervous at the very start. Then I did it, and I was fine. But then I knew the parallel parking was the one thing I wasn't as confident in. To do a perfect job at. And this guy looked exactly like Charlie Weiss, by the way.
Oh,
he
really?
Was like, I literally thought I was driving Charlie Weiss. So at the time, I hated. I was like, oh, this guy, ruined my college football program, and I'm like, oh, this is the guy that's going to fail me.
You know what? I shouldn't say this, but I'm going to. I've never been more disappointed to work with someone than Charlie Weiss. I was so excited to work with Charlie Weiss when I was at Sirius XM NFL Radio. Here I am, right? I'm a Patriot fan. Charlie Weiss, to me, those early 2000s, him as the offensive coordinator, like I was in awe that I was hosting a show, with Charlie Weiss. And he was just so grumpy and so miserable. I forget who it was. It was Thanksgiving morning. Maybe that's why he was in such a miserable mood. But he preferred to work on Thanksgiving morning. Like, I was surprised he was off. And there was a quarterback that the Lions weren't being honest about. And they said he, didn't practice, but they didn't rule him out for the game. And Charlie thought they were just, lying right to us. And I'm like, well, and he goes, are you really that naive? Like, he said that to me. And then it got announced 5 minutes later that the quarterback was out. And they had, one guy that was that was a backup, but that was it. That's why he thought the other guy was starting, whatever it was. And he just had, so much attitude because I questioned what he was saying. And I wasn't doing it in, an obnoxious way. Now I could admit, I know when I'm being obnoxious. Back then, I was in my early 20s. I was just happy to have a job in radio on a big platform. And he was just such a jerk. He really was. And then, you want to know something funny? This is how much of a good guy I was. He was just grumpy. He wasn't an a-hole. He was just grumpy. He was just prickly. All right? When the Patriots drafted Mac Jones, I guess NFL Radio, and I was working here, they knew I was not friendly with Mac Jones, but I had his contact info because of the fact that we've interviewed him a bunch of times when he was at Alabama. So I guess one of the producers knew that there. And the producer reached out to me. He's like, hey, Charlie wants to get in contact with Mac Jones. He couldn't call Bill. He couldn't call the Patriots. So Charlie wants to know if you could share Mac's number. And I go, you know what? I'll call up Charlie. I said, Charlie, Zach, hey, how you doing? Good to hear from you. Now you want to talk to me. And I gave the number to Charlie Weiss, Mac Jones' number. But man, it's I don't want to say he was my hero because he wasn't. But it's like sometimes you never want to meet the guys that you root for growing up as a kid. Because sometimes they may not be as nice as they appear on the exterior. And it was just 3 shows of Charlie Weiss. I was like, oh boy. I was like, he probably just didn't want to deal with my energy, if we're being honest. But to answer the question, I was reverse. I didn't pass my first time. I should have passed my first time. I should not have passed my second time. And I did pass my second time. The first time, I aced the 3-point turn, the parallel parking. You know, I had you merge on the highway and then merge off the highway, which is kind of dangerous now if you think about it. But, so I did all that. And then I'm coming back. And when I'm going back into the parking lot where the test is to get like dropped off, there was a bus at a stop sign. The bus was parked at the stop sign. And I looked to my left, looked to my right, looked to my left, looked to my right. You're overcautious when you're driving. Our hands 10 and 2, all proper. And the bus driver waves to me like, you could go. And I go. And the person that was doing the test, that was in the passenger seat, it's like automatic fail. I go, what do you mean? He goes, you just cut off a bus. I go, like, I wasn't arguing with the person, but I'm like, he told me to go. He's like, nope. Failed. Then, the second time I went back, I hit the curb on the parallel park. So, and then they said, can you do it again? And I parked it correctly. But I should not have, like the first time, Stu, I aced the test. The second time, I thought I was going to fail, and they passed me. So I did not pass my driver's test on the first time. And you want to know something? You want to see how much of a bunch of rats my family is? My family lied to me for all these years. They said my sister passed her driver's test on the first time. They made up a lie to me when I was a kid, when I knew she was going to get a driver's test. She didn't pass. I'm stupid. They were like, oh, the test got canceled. That's what they told me. When I failed, my mom spilled the beans. Don't feel bad, your sister failed as well. Now, she legitimately failed because there was like one of those like circles where you turn, and there's like 3 different places you could turn. She turned the wrong way. She turned the wrong way. So my family covered that up for all those years. So that is the Gelb family experience on the driver's test. And I'm a very good driver. I'm a very good driver. But the first time I should have passed the driver's test. The second time, no chance I should have passed it. Anyway, real quickly before we get on out of here. The 2 Yankee fans that were the story last night, they're not allowed in the stadium tonight. I don't think they'll be banned permanently, but Major League Baseball, we don't want you in the stadium tonight. They're doing an interview with Barstool Sports. I can't wait to watch this when I do get home tonight. It's another chicken meatball night. I have leftovers from last night. You know, I made too many chicken meatballs last night. So I think I'm going to have chicken meatballs tonight. Thursday, I'm going to the Jet-Texans game. Friday, I'm going to the Ranger game. So I guess I'm going to have chicken meatballs on Saturday, too. Because I got enough for like 2 more servings of chicken meatballs. I made a lot of chicken meatballs last night. But I'm curious tonight in the broadcast if they're going to bring up what happened last night. Like, it's the biggest story, but it's more of a Game 4 story. They talked about it in Game 4. Will they bring it back up that these fans are not in the building tonight? I'm just wondering. And I think it's a mistake by Major League Baseball, I do. Like, I get it. It's not a good look because they interfered, but the whole thing, no one got hurt. It's funny. How awesome would that have been tonight if they're a story and you had like Big Papi rushing down there with the microphone, getting booed in the Bronx? Hey, you know, I got to talk to these 2 jackasses that were trying to go after my boy Mookie Betts last night. That would be really good television. And it would be really, really fun. But Major League Baseball, you know, we got to make Major League Baseball fun again. And no, that's not a political message. I don't want anyone accusing me of voting for one person and not the other person. All right, that's not political. Not political whatsoever. But I wish Major League Baseball would able to have a funny bone in their body, and we could actually like laugh at this whole thing. Because that's what I did last night. I get it. It's not right. I get it. I'm a horrible human being. I'm going to get egg face 3472996, apostrophe S on Twitter. That's going to say, oh, you condone those two jabronis last night. I like to see what happens if I showed up to your work and did that to you. Like, guys, Mookie Betts didn't give a rat's ass about it at the end of the game. No one got hurt. If someone did get hurt, it'd be a totally different conversation. I get it, the potential risk. I laughed at it. So if I'm a horrible, miserable human being because I laughed at something that I thought was funny, shame on me. But I do think Major League Baseball is really dropping the ball tonight by not having those two stunads at the game. I really think it's a bad job. So, Rob Manfred, it's your pal Zach Gelb here. I know you're an incompetent commissioner. You still got time. Rob. It's 5:53 p.m. Eastern time. You start that game at about like 8:10, 8:12 p.m. Eastern time tonight. Let's get the two big dopes at the game last night into the stadium. That would be fun. All right, that will do it for a Wednesday edition of the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network. Big thanks to Hot Take Hickey for joining us in studio today. Big thanks to Mike Mayock for joining us 53 minutes ago. Big thank you to Stuart Kovacs. Big thank you to Michael Samter. And a big thank you to each and every one of you. Stu, will you be in costume tomorrow? Just wondering.
I will.
Oh.
Everything I need finally came yesterday.
Oh, so you put a little effort in this costume.
I did.
Sports related or non-sports related?
Sports related.
Okay. The main part of my costume is not sports related, but I tied it into a sports topic that's near and dear to my heart. You will see our costumes tomorrow. Big thank you to each and every one of you for tuning on in. We'll be live tomorrow at 3 p.m. Eastern, noon Pacific as always. Have a good night, everybody. We out. Bye-bye. Peace.